gentlemen, be a rosebud!
Behold! The power of magnetism! What would your finishing maneuver be called?
The circumcision.
Follow the buzzers!
Hello everyone and welcome to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. The wrestling podcast will review every segment of Raw and give you guys the wrestling news of the week. And there's plenty of it to talk about this week as well. My name, if you guys are asking, is Turbo Tony. And we're here with the longest running world champion in SmackDown history, the Wrestling God, MBL. Right?
I like.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
It's good.
Yeah. I came up with that half an hour before we started this because I realised I forgot to. So
it's like shit, new thing, new intro.
How are you doing this week, Matt?
Pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
I was quite happy, and I actually enjoyed Raw. So
I know. Strange, isn't it?
It's a crazy thing when that happens.
Very, very strange. But obviously we've got the Raw review to talk about, all that stuff. We've got plenty of stuff on the show for you guys this week. Just want to say a big thanks to everyone that supported the podcast. We're about to hit 120 subscribers. That to me sounds bonkers. I don't know about you, Matt. That just
Yes.
sounds crazy.
Weird.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, it just keeps going up and up. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. If you want to interact here with the podcast, we're more than happy to do so. You can leave a comment down below. You can also follow us at @TalkWrestlePod. That Matt handles our Twitter handle. Follow us. Matt put up loads of tweets throughout the week talking about various things. Always a good thing to look at every now and then. But on the show this week, another packed show. You've got to think we've done two shows which have been 2 hours long back to back since the holiday shenanigans that we got up to. And that's because they've been packed shows. Well, I'll tell you, I guarantee you guys this week again is another packed show. We've got lots of wrestling news. We've got our fan feedback, which we will respond to a fan's question of the week. We've got Fail of the Week, which is a doozy, not from WCW, no less.
No.
Oh, yeah, very, very shocking there. Our usual Raw review, we'll review every segment of Raw. And then if you had watched last week, you'll know that this week we're going to talk about something that we did bring up. But we purposely held ourselves back because we knew it would be
it's like, no, we're getting too far away from this topic.
Yeah, that's it. And basically what we're going to do, essentially, is do a what-if situation. What if you were to switch Dolph Ziggler and an emerging Shawn Michaels into each other's respective timelines, and how would each other fare? I think you guys will be surprised our thoughts on that particular subject, because they may not be as cookie cutter as people expect, even though we're big fans of both guys. Okay, so a very packed show. Sorry, getting tongue tied already. It's not a good sign at the beginning of the podcast. But regardless, let's get into the show this week. Lots of wrestling news. Probably the biggest bit of news to come out this week is that long-term employee by the WWE, Justin Roberts. You may know him as the ring announcer.
Yeah.
I would probably offend a lot of people by saying he's the new age Finkel, but
yeah,
he is the ring announcer. He's been for 12 years. That's a long time. You got to think for
crazy to think that.
Yeah, for almost a decade, this has been the guy that's been on your flagship show, announcing your wrestlers. So his release from the company is a little bit odd, I have to say, bit of a strange one. It has come about that apparently who they're looking to replace Roberts with will either be Byron Saxton or it will be Eden, who's from NXT. You may know her as Cody Rhodes' wife.
Yes.
Who does a lot of the video updates, on their WWE.com, does like a reality video update every now and then, just talking about her getting into it. So be a big promotion for either of those guys to fill that slot, because I don't know about you, Matt, but I don't think anyone was ready to take over from Justin Roberts.
No. I couldn't, like, there's nobody that instantly jumps to mind and go, he will be the new guy.
Yeah. At least not yet, to this point.
No.
I mean, I'm not saying that Byron Saxton or Eden can't get to that point, but you would expect they'll have a little bit more time. I know they've been at NXT working a lot there, having a little bit more time there before they would call them up to the big leagues. This is a place where you can't make any mistakes, and one thing you can say about Roberts is that he was flawless in the sense of he would he would very rarely, if ever, make any mistakes on the show.
That's true. I mean, there's one thing that I'm going to miss about Roberts is just like, I mean, I know he's not he's not very exactly around every week, but the rated R superstar.
Yeah, but that was more Chimmel than him, wasn't it? Really, that did the break in the voice. But yeah, I think Roberts was fine in the role. I honestly think it's a bit weird that he's been released from the company. If it's not broken,
especially considering he was on Raw, it's just like, and now he's gone.
Yeah, apparently, they told him after Raw that they won't be renewing his contract. He hasn't been fired; they just didn't choose to renew his contract. So maybe he was on a bit of money. He was a long-term role with the company, but they can bring someone in, save a bit of money, and bring a new person into that role. Maybe that's got something to do with it, or maybe it's more deep-rooted. Maybe Roberts was not getting on with management. There has been rumours of him having an argument with Cole after the show, which JBL has rebuffed. But maybe something along those lines has happened. But he always seems like a very decent guy. I mean, I watch Total Divas, and if he's willing to sit there and give Eva Marie tips on announcing, then you can imagine that he's probably
the man's got patience.
Yeah, he's got patience. Yeah, you know what I mean. And he's a wrestling fan. He always has been a wrestling fan. This is the role that he's wanted to do. I feel bad for the guy, but he released a very classy statement afterwards, praising WWE, praising the people that he worked with, and yeah, I just hope that he goes on and goes somewhere else. Not to TNA, hopefully, because I don't know how long that company has left to go. But anyway.
I know.
Batista is rumoured to star in the next James Bond film. Apparently this is more than just rumours. Apparently this is very strong likeliness that he will be not, the guy stroking the cat, the evil guy, in the James Bond film, but he's going to be numero uno henchman, big.
No, apparently I thought he was meant to be top guy.
Now, apparently he's going to be a big henchman, but he will he's not going to exactly be nameless henchman who just gets beaten up in one scene.
Generic bad guy number 3.
Yeah, he is going to have like a much more prominent feature in the actual film. So like
Jaws.
Yeah, I just think. And Bond.
I just think of previous Bond villains who's not been the bad guy, but been a big henchman sort of thing.
Yeah, that's it. And you got to think, Batista. He's a big guy. He's got some acting credentials after Guardians of the Galaxy. So fair play to the guy. And you may be thinking, Tony and Matt, come on. This is not movie talk. This is Let's Talk Wrestling. But it does, move into that because this is more ammunition that he won't be returning to WWE. If he gets this Bond role, and apparently a lot of people believe that he's, very likely he will take it. And if he's Batista, he'd be stupid not to.
All that James Bond money.
Yeah, exactly. And that's high profile film. If he takes that role, there's no way that he's going to risk injuring himself because it's going to be a very, very physical role that he's going to be going into. He's going to be having fight scenes with Bond. He's going to be in a lot of action scenes. There's no way he's going to risk that by wrestling in the ring, especially at his age as well.
Yeah.
So if he gets that role, I mean, I don't think he's returning anyway. Period. I think that he got his fill when he returned last time, and he didn't like what he saw. I think now that the movie industry is more cushy for him, gets a lot more money, less work. So, but if he gets the Bond film, like I said, categorically, it's so unlikely that he's going to return if he gets that Bond role. So, here's an interesting piece of news. I plucked this out. I'm surprised you didn't find this, Matt. We talked about WWE legend Honky Tonk Man a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Blowing up on Twitter saying WWE this, fuck WWE that, they're using my likeness, I'm going to sue them. And we said it's him making noise. Yeah, it's him doing his best to try and keep his name out there. We were very reluctant to say that any lawsuit would, one, happen, or two, he would actually win the damn thing. Okay. What's ironic this time is that Honky Tonk Man is on Twitter praising the fact that he's now part of the WWE 2K15 DLC. How things change.
Oh dear.
Now he's going to get a video game check, and suddenly everything's hunky-dory.
Is that money? Money!
Yeah, exactly. Come on, guys. That whole rant that he was doing a couple of weeks ago, you'll find this from a few legends that maybe didn't invest as well, towards the end of their career. Not saying that he didn't, but saying anyway, regardless. They will make some noise, keep their name out there for independent bookings, and stuff like that. Because I know Honky Tonk does independent bookings still now. They'll go on a rant just to keep their name out there, just to get their name in the dirt sheets and stuff, keep people remembering them. And then obviously when push comes to shove, they won't actually make good on their word. And me and Matt have seen it time and time again. That's why we're a bit cynical with it, I think. How many times have you and me talked about this guy says he's going to sue WWE for all this stuff and everything?
That's it. Oh, it's such a problem. It's such a problem. I'm just going to go for WWE because WWE has money and I want money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not even quick fix.
It's not even money that they're really going for. It's the exposure. That's what they're going for. They can moan and moan and moan, but it is funny how quickly his tone changed. Pun not in slightly slightly warranted. His tone changed very quickly after learning about all this stuff. So now an invasion has happened upon the internet this week. Randy Orton has RKO'd everyone apparently. If you haven't seen it before, I'm very shocked you have not seen at least one of these.
If you haven't seen it, you haven't been on the internet.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say.
It's the biggest new phase that everything's going through. Basically, using still images of Randy Orton RKOing people and celebrating afterwards, and pasting them over fail videos has just become a huge thing. I found them quite funny. After about the 10th one, I was a little bit, oh yeah, I kind of get what you're saying now. But they're good for a chuckle. If on the off chance you guys haven't seen them, just YouTube it. I mean, it's like
RKO Vine and just call it a day.
There's like hundreds of thousands of views on these things already, and it's only like a week-long thing that this thing's going about. So, the guy who originally made them, man, is so mad how these things can spiral. From we were all talking about the Fandango theme, how quickly that escalated, and it's the same.
Yeah.
Wrestling memes, obviously were the ones to make the Fandango stuff as big as
Kayfabe news, Randy Orton insists he did RKO everyone.
From out of nowhere. No.
That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, just I know there's been HBK and JBL ones. So prepare yourselves.
I haven't seen the JBL one.
Yeah. The JBL one's pretty funny. But still, there's they're everywhere, guys. They're everywhere. So he's invaded the internet, Orton. And some people have said that he's more over with the fans now than he's ever been in his career. He's
ridiculous.
That's it. What a weird way to break into the mainstream, huh? Very odd. Anyway, something that's a little bit interesting to myself and Matt, maybe on a personal level. TNA Boot Camp airs tomorrow. British Boot Camp. As you've told me, Matt, apparently some of the guys we know are in it.
Yes.
So I'm actually going to record it. It's being aired tomorrow. I will watch it, try and catch some of these guys, because I've been powerbombed by a few of these guys before, so...
Yes.
Be interesting to see. We've been...
One of which was just like morning trainees and a swanton bomb in the ring.
Yes. So it'll be interesting to see these guys. I hate to be a downer, but after all, it is only TNA that they're auditioning for. And with all the stuff that surrounds TNA at the moment, only getting 200 people into their live shows, some of their recorded shows as well, the financial troubles that just won't go away, and the TV deal negotiations, which at this current time have not been resolved. TNA are very lucky that Spike are a very forgiving TV channel. I mean, if they were WCW, their asses would have been cut by now. That being said, WCW did a lot more offensive stuff back in that time, but still, TNA are very lucky to still have a program. That's my opinion. I mean, we stopped reviewing it on this channel. TNA drove me away, and we podcast wrestling on a weekly basis, so I'm more inclined to watch wrestling, and it still drove me away. So I will watch it for those guys, see what happens, and it's an interesting concept and stuff. Basically, the tough enough, if you will, of TNA. Are you planning on watching it at all? At least catching the first episode or something along those lines?
I'm definitely going to try and catch it, yeah.
Yeah. If not for the guys that trained us back in those days. So, hope they do well. So, that's the news for this week. Some interesting little tidbits there. I hope that Randy Orton does not RKO us in the middle of this podcast, but I can't say anything.
From out of nowhere.
From out of nowhere. I mean, who knows? Yeah, exactly. And there'll be a funny video put of it up on YouTube. No wonder.
Oh, of course.
Of course. Fan feedback. Fantastic. We said that this apparently was only going to be a segment that would air every now and then when we get questions that we would like to answer.
And now you're all asking questions.
Yeah, now you're all guys asking really good questions, and now it's turned into like a 3-week long thing. So I tell you what, the more you guys keep asking us questions, the more we'll answer them. That's just, the plain fact. Yeah. We love answering your questions. We love the feedback from you guys. Positive and negative criticism, constructive criticism towards the podcast, and we have a new subscriber that caught on to us about 2 weeks ago. The name being Murish Moore. I'm sorry if I say that name incorrect. I always do it wrong. Matt can say this. I get names wrong all the time. I used to work in a call center, and I called, the name Siobhan, right? I called him Siobhan. So, yeah, I get stuff wrong.
You're terrible.
I'm terrible. But they discovered the podcast 2 weeks ago. Really enjoys it. Thank you. I hope that you continue to enjoy it. But they gave us 2 questions. 2 questions for us to answer. Very interesting questions. Matt, have you ever bought an issue of Power Slam magazine?
No.
Okay. So the first question is directed.
This doesn't sit with me.
Yeah. Basically, Power Slam magazine, much like WWE magazine most recently, has now gone out of print. And the question revolves: how do we feel about the magazine itself and the fact that it has gone out of print? I have purchased a few editions. I'm not going to say that I'm a regular subscriber to the magazine. The one thing I will say about the magazine is that I thought it was quite refreshing to have a magazine that was outside of the WWE stamp. There wasn't that many magazines out there, really, that were wrestling based and weren't affiliated with a company, if you know what I mean. So having that outside sort of
need for it,
need for it. There was an appeal there, and I always thought that it came, the way that it was produced, fit its demographic very nicely. So I thought that was okay. That being said, we're in the information age. I'm not shocked that this magazine has gone out of print. It's sad, but I'm not shocked. People are less inclined now to purchase magazines when they can access that information for free online.
Especially considering, I wonder what's in that magazine. Well, whilst I'm in the queue in Tesco, let me check.
Yeah, exactly.
Just go online.
Exactly, and then you'll be able to find it all on there. Internet has destroyed a lot of stuff to do with magazines and books and stuff like that. It was just the way that us as a race has evolved, I guess, that information is so easily accessible. People are less inclined to buy a magazine for €5, which maybe it might be over here, when they can access full interviews and podcasts from wrestlers for free. And they can access them on the fly whenever they want without dropping a single penny, and it doesn't take up clutter in their house. And also, not only that, with the emergence of TV shows like Wrestle Talk TV, which get airs over here. I don't know if it gets aired in America. I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
It wouldn't do. Wrestle Talk TV's UK.
UK, yeah, and it's affiliated to Challenge TV by itself. So, but I imagine there's probably an equivalent over in America,
there must be.
Along those lines. But with TV shows like that, I can see why the magazine has struggled to sell and then therefore gone out of print. And also, like, stuff like the Wrestling Observer newsletter and stuff like that, which has a lot of the inside knowledge, maybe gets that information to people quicker than a magazine can. I think these things get produced on a monthly basis. Month to month, people want to listen to the news when it happens and get all the scoop. So, dirt sheet websites fill that role now.
Yeah, I mean, on a dirt sheet, you can get, this has happened and this is how they've recovered it. It took a week, but you knew when it happened and when it got resolved. But if it's like to put to print, it's just like, it happened and it got done. There's no point in going on about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like this. It's like, one of the biggest episodes we ever did on this podcast is where we talked about CM Punk walking out of the company. And the reason why we were able to capitalize so frequently on that is because we're a weekly podcast. We didn't have to wait that many days to actually talk about it happening. But imagine if that happened just a few days after a magazine goes to print. That way they've got 20 plus days until they can actually get, pay off of the big heat of the moment. And therefore, all these articles and stuff kind of go to waste when people have already searched out all that information. It is a shame. I would like to see a magazine going forward where maybe a lot of successful podcasters and maybe some of the more articulate and well-written wrestlers, do articles, and it comes out on a monthly basis. Therefore, it may not be about current events, but about stuff that's happened in their life. Monthly columns, that sort of stuff. That would be a magazine I'd be very interested in doing. I know Power Slam had some of that, but maybe that's something that they could do along. But then again, as well, there's a lot more traffic to be found online than there is in a newsagent's now. So it is very sad. The second question, which does go towards you, Matt, so you can weigh in here, is whether we think Tyson Kidd could get a push.
There we go.
Going forward, whether he can get a renewed push after what's happened from here on out. I've got my thoughts. What are your thoughts on?
Are we going in like in a situation of like he gets back onto the main roster?
Well, yeah, in that sense, like, but whether you think it's likeliness that he's going to be wrestling week in, week out on Raw, on a 3-hour Raw.
It pains me to say it because he's been so good on NXT, but I don't think we would.
I agree.
I don't think we'd see. We'll see Tyson Kidd on Raw. That's a given.
Yeah.
But in a sort of main event picture or anything like that, I don't think we will. I think if anything, especially if he brought the character with him to Raw,
yeah,
he could be a successful mid card.
Yeah,
he won't be. The thing I worry with Kidd is the fact that people are going to he's going to come up to Raw again with people who, just because they've got the network doesn't necessarily mean they watch NXT.
Yeah.
Like, he was on Raw and nobody chanted Natty's husband. You guys don't watch NXT.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
And they don't know how capable he's become.
Yeah, it's only a small
I think as a result that will be a stigma because people will still just remember him from being the bald guy with the shitty little tuft on his forehead.
Oh, man, that's bad. I do agree, and I think any push that he gets, and he is getting a little mini push at the moment, coincides with Total Divas. He's going to be locked into that show.
He's locked into that, yeah.
Yeah. That when Total Divas goes off air, I'd be very shocked to see him on the main roster. Very shocked. And got to think back in those times that maybe when Total Divas goes off, then you've got guys like Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan coming back into the show, and suddenly all those slots that suddenly came available when all the stars aligned. Total Divas had as the season premiere, all these big guys are off, there's a slot but maybe that Kid can fill on the lower cards, because everyone's moving up a bump. Suddenly those stars don't align anymore, and then he's not on the show and he goes back to NXT.
Yeah.
I do think that unfortunately that it's a bit weird with Kid. It really is, because when his future and his career is so tied into Total Divas that you can almost think it's like this episodic sort of thing that's going along with him. I can guarantee that when that goes,
I mean, there's no two ways around it. Like, we've mentioned this before, the reason why nobody on Total Divas has held the Divas title, is because we don't want it to get watered down with Total Divas. And the same could be said for the fact that Tyson Kidd is a key male guy. I mean, Cena, it's Cena.
Yeah.
But I think for Tyson Kidd, I think the fact that he's on Total Divas, even if it is in the format of Natalia's husband rather than Tyson Kidd the wrestler.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never seen it, so don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But he's then tied in just to be Natty's husband.
Yeah. And a lot of people, before people say, well, wait a minute, as you said there, Matt, you've got John Cena on the show. The Usos are very relevant on the show. Difference is those guys are already main parts of the roster before the show even started to air.
Yeah.
So Tyson Kidd is a completely different situation.
Like, Tyson Kidd being on, season 1 of it was probably the most TV time that Tyson Kidd got that year.
Oh, by far. Oh, absolutely. So it is a shame, and I hate to say it, both your questions, we both have very downers on the answer, that we can understand why the magazine was discontinued, and no, Tyson Kidd won't be getting a big push. But
there was another question as well, actually, on that.
Yeah, and I do remember that. Don't worry, I've got it all covered. Yeah, and the thing is as well that any push he may get may be a flavour of the month sort of thing. Is Total Divas is around. There's a big thing, episode revolving around Tyson Kidd and Natalya. Let's get him in the ring for this month. Get him into this. But as soon as that show airs, goes off of season, finishes for the season.
I think the sole reason he had a match on Raw recently
was about
against Swagger.
Yeah.
Was as a result of Total Divas.
Yeah. Because
they're doing this whole divorce storyline.
Yeah, that's it. And, they even referenced it this week on Raw. It's like, on Total Divas, there's more drama between Natalya and Tyson Kidd. That's the only reason that he's been featured. And it is a shame. I don't like it because I think he's very talented in the ring. I think
ridiculously so.
Yeah, he can perform a very high-quality match. And I think the guy found a personality in NXT, one that you could market.
I can actually turn around and say, I think the best... we've said it before. I mean, we're going back to take over Fatal 4-Way, but... he was the best in that match.
Yeah, you agree. I thought that he was fun. I thought he acted like a ring general in that match. He was making sure everything was fine. Everything was going along. The big spots happened as they should. And that's a guy that I think is got a good spot in your roster. Before Kidd went into NXT, he had nothing in terms of personality. He was a blank
shitty
slate.
tuft of hair on his forehead.
Yeah, he was nothing. Do I want to see Tyson Kidd cut a promo now? Yeah, I want to see what he wants to say. I want to see how good he can be on the mic. Before, I didn't want to waste my time on the guy. Now I want to see what he can do. That's the difference. But that's us. That's not WWE. So, there we are. That's the point. The other question was from one of our more regular listeners to the show, stating whether we want to see Ambrose against Cena or Rollins against Cena or Rollins against Ambrose.
We've got what we want.
Yeah, we got what we want. We got Ambrose versus Rollins. That's the one we want. Rollins against Cena is just so rushed. There's no point to it. And I don't want Rollins anywhere. I don't want anyone getting a new push anywhere close to John Cena. I don't want anyone that's going to be the next big star, and we put that tag on the guy, to be put next to Cena, the push-seeking missile, which we call him on this show, because he smells a push and destroys it, whether it's down to him.
It's it's a nice push you're having there. Same if someone hijacked it.
Yes, exactly. I mean, come on, look. It's not as if this thing... I still haven't got over the whole Bray Wyatt thing. The fact they've had to almost reboot the guy after what John Cena did to him.
Yeah.
Twice, no less. In the entire rivalry and feud that they had from WrestleMania and beyond. And even beyond that, that absolutely just shamefully
is Cena disheartened after his beating at SummerSlam? No, look at him.
Yeah, and now he's just destroying Bray Wyatt in the ring, making him look like a chump. Just ridiculous. That's our fan feedback. If you do have any questions, leave them in the comments or, send Matt a tweet at TalkWrestlePod. He will make a note of it and bring it to the show. I know Matt wants questions on his Twitter, and the reason being is I've now jumped him with a few questions every now and then that he hasn't seen. He wants to do the same to me, so he wants to bring a question that jumps me, and I have to come up. Because I have the benefit of having a few days to come up with an answer. Matt doesn't have that benefit as much. So go on, guys. Give me your best questions that you think can put me off, and send them to @TalkWrestlePod. Matt will make a note of them, and then he can throw them at me next week in regards to that. Now, Matt, fail of the week.
Yes, and it's not WCW, so I'm intrigued.
Yes. But this one's a good one, and it involves Vinnie Mac, Vince McMahon himself.
Okay.
And I would state that this fail goes, and we all know...
It's not going to be where he broke his hip, is it?
No, not when he broke his hip. He did break something. But it's... Everyone calls Kevin Nash the king of torn quads. Yeah? I would say
breaker of biceps.
Yeah, everyone's there's loads of memes around of lol, I tore my quad and stuff like that, or I looked in the mirror, I tore my quad, that sort of stuff, right? I would state that not Kevin Nash, but Vince McMahon is the torn quad king of professional wrestling.
Oh no, dude, you're not. This isn't the Rumble, is it?
This is the Rumble. Here we go.
You're heartless.
I am heartless. But it's fail of the week, and come on, it was a fail. Come on, it was. So, Royal Rumble 2005. The rise of Dave Bautista as a main event star, going on to win the Rumble. and face Triple H for the belt at WrestleMania and go on and make himself a huge star in wrestling, and obviously, as we know, a Guardian of the Galaxy, right? However, it didn't play out nearly as easily as it did from there. The last two in the Royal Rumble are Batista and John Cena.
Yep.
They're facing out, so who's going to win the Rumble? As we would both know that John Cena and Batista would end up in main event matches regardless, so it didn't really matter who won.
Yeah, because even at that point, he was Cena.
He was Cena, yeah. Batista is supposed to win without any issues. The plan was for him to throw Cena out of the ring and celebrate. You know the whole thing, where he points to the WrestleMania sign, gestures that he's going for the belt. You've seen it before. However, as he dumps Cena out of the ring, the momentum carries him over, and he lands on the floor. Now, this wasn't planned, okay? Was not planned. The plan was originally for him just to dunk Cena out of the ring and celebrate. By pure luck, absolute dumb luck, they landed at the same time. Their feet at the same moment landed on the floor. So instantly, they've got a reason why the match should be restarted because they landed at the same time. Fair enough. It was done. It was so. They got so lucky with it that a lot of people thought, oh, this is part of the storyline. You'd be forgiven for thinking that, wow, these two guys really did land at the same point. How did they manage to do it? Obviously, it was a fuck up. You think that's a fail? You think, Tony, that is a fail, but it isn't really that big of a fail. And I'd agree with you.
It's a simple mistake.
It's a simple,
I suppose,
it is a fail, one of their biggest pay-per-views, but they still sorted it out. No, that isn't the fail of the week that we're talking about. So, the original plan, as has happened, Vince is looking around for loads of the Raw and SmackDown GMs to apparently go out and argue about who won the match, and therefore they would restart it. However, Vince, who is in the gorilla position backstage, he can't find them. He's shouting, and he needs to sort out something now. On the actual show, Batista and John Cena and all the referees are just looking at each other, not knowing what to do. So he decides in his own infinite knowledge, and, fair enough, I don't have any problem with him doing this.
Nope.
Gets up out of the gorilla position, he storms out, and this is just classic Vince McMahon strut to the max. He takes off his jacket, he throws it to the floor, he is irate.
Yeah, raging march.
Yeah, no chance in hell that anything could go wrong any further from here. Unfortunately, it does. As he gets into the ring, he does so with so much passion, fury, intensity that he bangs his knees and tears both of his quads.
Yep.
Not one, both of the quads.
Oh, you soulless bastard.
Yeah.
It's the thing I love, is the fact that he sat on the floor.
Yeah.
Like, we need to restart this match. Vince, get out of the ring.
Yeah.
Get me a medic.
Yeah. As you said there, the weirdest thing is you've got these two hulking guys, Cena and Batista, armed, huge muscular men standing over 6 feet tall, taking orders, listening intently like two little schoolboys, as Vince McMahon is unable to stand. So he's sitting in the ring,
shouting at them from the floor.
Yeah, and he's obviously trying to act as if he's not in the most crippling pain that he's been in probably in a very long time. So the match restarts, as you know. Literally, it's a very tame finish. It's not like an explosive finish where they tease. It's literally Dave Batista just spine busts him, throws him over the ropes. Batista wins, and the rest is history. But what you don't see then is that you've got a whole horde of people carrying Vince McMahon out of the ring because he's unable to do so under his own power. So, yeah, a lot of people give Kevin Nash that crown of torn quads. I say after that performance, it's not longevity. It's not about how many quads you've torn. It's how you do it and at the situation in which you do it in. I think Vince McMahon is the king. I think he deserves that crown.
For the sake of saving a storyline.
Yeah. Just go back and watch it, guys. Not the match, just the end. Just when Vince McMahon comes out.
It's quite simple. Vince McMahon tears quad, and you'll probably find it.
Yeah, you'll find it. And the poor guy, he's a very proud dude, and he probably doesn't want to remember it. That's why probably Matt is calling me a soulless bastard, because I can imagine that's not on the regular nostalgia watch list in Vince McMahon's tape library.
Yeah, when I go back and think about not that,
yeah. So Royal Rumble 2005. We did manage to do it. We've had a few on the show, non-WCW fails. I promise next week we'll go back to WCW because there's plenty more. Hundreds of them. Hundreds.
Always more. Fail of the week. WCW.
Yeah, that's it. Just in general, that's it. We do that one week. Now, of course, we don't. But yeah, Royal Rumble 2005. Memorable for that moment, if nothing else. So. Now we move on to our Raw review. If you're new to the podcast, thanks for joining along. We review every segment of Raw, so even the small little segments, we give our thoughts on that and whether they should have been included in the show. As Matt has alluded to earlier, this show was much better than the 5-6 weeks of awful back-to-back shows that we got. Even so, the fact, last week me and Matt raged about two particular old women in the middle of the ring.
That was the week before, was it? No, that was last week.
That was last week, yeah.
Oh my god, it burnt. Oh.
Yeah, it's been a long week to get rid of that, yeah. And also the other segment involving, El Torito and Slater Gator. I can guarantee you, both guys on this show, none of those things happened again. In fact, one of the celebrity things that I thought was going to be bad didn't end up being as bad.
I didn't hate.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. So we'll get into that. With all those negatives brought out of the show, man, did it make it a lot easier to watch.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. So, no The Rock to salvage this show. We're 2 weeks away from Hell in a Cell, and this Raw is from Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, I know, can have good crowds, and sometimes they'll. I more often not hear them having good crowds than bad. So,
yeah,
there we are on that. Dean Ambrose, who is by far, I'm going to say this categorically, we said this once about Daniel Bryan being WWE's hottest property. Dean Ambrose at the moment is WWE's hottest property. He is over by far. And he starts off the show. He says that John Cena is pissing him off, and that they're going to fight in a no-holds-barred contract on a pole match. I did not know this was happening until I watched the show, and apparently this was supposed to happen at the pay-per-view, as we would find out later on. It would happen on the show. Somewhere when I heard no holds barred contract on a pole match, I thought two things. One, the match would suck.
Hole on a pole.
Yeah. Oh man, that's an amazing Austin promo. But yeah, for one, I thought the match would suck. Matt knows more than anyone that I dislike these sorts of matches.
Yeah.
I just don't like them. Because more often than not, they suck. Two, Vince Russo is probably rubbing his hands with glee at the idea of a contract on a pole.
They said on a pole, I want money.
Yeah, that's it. Vince Russo's like, damn, WWE be calling me this week to give me a job. And then, get themselves in shit.
No, Vince. No, Vince Russo, put the phone down.
No, that's it. No. They're not calling you, Vince.
Yeah, they're not coming for you.
Yeah. Like Booker T last week.
That's it.
Ambrose says that he's going to go through Cena, bounce Rollins' head off the cell like a basketball, and all I can think of is, he's on fire! But I've been playing a little bit.
Put NBA down.
NBA down, I've been playing a lot, so there we are. Sure enough, though, Cena is like Beetlejuice. If you say Cena's name too much, he will appear.
Yeah.
So Ambrose said the word Cena a lot, and lo and behold, Cena just appears. As you are. Cena then says Ambrose to shut up and get ready for the biggest match of Ambrose's career. Now, a lot of people think that we're maybe I don't know. I imagine the majority of fans are on our page with this, but we're very critical of John Cena. Okay, I think we're actually more positive than most podcasts are on the guy.
Oh, I've heard some real hate for the guy.
Yeah. At least we can see the reasons why he's on the show and what he brings to the show. Okay. I thought what he said here, not just what I explained there, but in the promo itself, I thought he came off as really hypocritical.
How so?
Chris Jericho. How many times have we seen Cena come into the ring, bang his chest, swear that he'll unleash the monster inside, he doesn't care what anyone says, he's going to win the match. He did this recently with Brock Lesnar, less. And Ambrose is doing the same thing. And suddenly, no, Cena has an issue with that. He tells him to shut up.
Yeah, calm down, young one.
Yeah, it's like, really? Okay.
Yeah, but I think that's also because But then he played the whole, I'm going to beat my own chest, I am John Cena.
Yeah, in the same promo. It was a little bit... I thought he came off very hypocritical in this entire promo, his character. Maybe it's bad writing. But maybe this is part of Cena's character. He is a hypocrite. We don't know. Well, I can say he is because he often talks about saving people in the ring and then never comes down to save them. So
Yeah.
there we are. Ambrose calls Cena on his BS, telling him not to act like he cares about Ambrose because he doesn't. He doesn't. I haven't been playing too much NBA. Oh well. They have a back and forth. You know, Cena's telling him that he's out of Cena's league and to pipe down. But just to go through this, the whole Cena thing, he doesn't just come off as a hypocrite. He comes off like an uptight bastard. He looks like he's just putting down Ambrose the entire way.
Like, just imagine him being like the older man in the flat cap and the pipe, just like, see here, son, calm the hell down.
Yeah. But as we know, it's an opening segment. It can only go on so long without a certain establishment maybe coming into.
Yeah, I don't know what you refer to them as. Could they possibly be the management?
Or maybe the bosses, you know, or maybe
the lords of all.
Yeah, that's it. You know, the laws of WWE, you know, stuff like that. You know, the authority essentially. Yeah. Come out and as you know, as we say, it's quite funny. If this continues and they actually come off on the next 2 Raws, because it'll be our 50th episode, a very special episode for myself and Matt, and for you guys because there'll be big changes with the podcast.
That's it.
I'm going to go back to the last time that the Authority didn't open the show, and then I'll go back further then. I'm going to do an average, on average show to how many times they're on the opening segment, and I'll do an average and tell you. I can guarantee it's over 95%.
Good luck with that.
So, yeah.
I can't actually think of one off the top of my head.
Yeah. I know that at least the last 5 have been them in the opening of the show, so... Yeah, a lot of people may say, man, we use this joke a lot, and to be honest, it is beyond a joke, really. Them always being there. You don't have to have them come out and do the skeleton of the show for you. Put them in other stuff. They maybe don't even have to be part of the show, just for 1 week.
Yeah. Just cut to them backstage at some point, just so we know they're okay.
That's it.
We'll be happy.
But, so yeah, it is a little bit odd, because whenever they come out, they're obviously there for a reason. They're basically there for plot. They're there to essentially give you the reason to stick around for the rest of the show. I would argue...
They're here to remind us that at one point, WWE had a good taste in music.
Yeah, that's it. But I always feel that when they come out, it's almost like you can hear the collective groan in the audience, like, oh, here we go. That's the end of the good of this segment, and then it's going to end on a really blech note.
Yeah.
That's what I would say about it. But anyway, they drop a $9.99 on us. They haven't done it for a while. In fact, I'm quite shocked. For the amount of $9.99 we went cold turkey. They haven't exactly been going $9.99.
Yeah, like I've actually been craving a $9.99.
Oh, wow.
So I'll be okay.
Yeah, okay, no problem. I'll get you a 99 ice cream, Matt, okay?
Yeah, that's cool.
There you go, okay. I'll get you 9 of them. There you
go.
So, the name... What I don't like what they did here is that they sort of make a mockery of the rivalry that's happening in the ring. Stephanie McMahon's like, oh, these 2 girls just kind of fighting over each other. Or they don't really want to fight each other. They're just mucking around. It's like, these 2 guys are trying to get over the fact that they really do want to kick the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
And you come out and undermine
We're trying to
it.
sell the fact that Ambrose doesn't like anyone getting in the way.
Yeah. It's like Cena and Ambrose trying their best to get this whole rivalry over, that they really don't like each other. Even though they have a common enemy, they also want to beat the crap out of each other. And
yeah,
then they're
like
just
the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That shit don't fly here.
Yeah. And it's a little bit like, if they undermine it, then it takes some of the thing, you know, part of the reason why Brock Lesnar feels as epic as he does is because they don't do that shit with him.
No.
They don't ever undermine it. It's like, oh, Brock Lesnar, it's just Brock doing his thing.
Silly gorilla.
Yeah, it's like, this is Brock Lesnar, the Destroyer. You don't muck around with this guy. I think for these 2 guys, come on, like, I know it's the age-old thing when the Authority were referencing to Daniel Bryan as the B-plus player, right?
Yeah.
And I bring this back up because they did this kind of in this segment, that they because they're the Authority, they feel their character has to undermine anything else, which actually damages the other character.
Yeah.
Okay? they did this with Daniel Bryan, and I didn't have an issue with it at the beginning because the whole storyline was that he was proving that he was better than any of their underestimation.
Yeah, whatever you throw at me, I can defeat it.
Exactly, and he did. But the problem is then, afterwards the Authority didn't go, okay, you are a big guy, we still don't like you, but you are a big player, and we're going to do everything we can to stop you. They just kept going on, well, you're just a B+ player. It's like he ddidn't shut them up about it. So then they were just still undermining the guy. It's like, but
it's done. No, B+.
Yeah, it's like...
He beat you all, B+.
Yeah. In my eyes, I like to go back into the days where they at least treat at least 75% of their roster as if they're all A+ wrestlers. And that way, you don't undermine any of them. And they all feel like you don't have a... I mean, come on, we're going to talk a little bit about The Miz and Sandow later on. That they've been so badly undermined, by Triple H himself, by the Authority, that it damages. If they had any chance of getting over as something bigger than what they are, which is a comedy gimmick, then you're immediately just pulling the pin out of that. You're harming that. I don't like the way that they undermine things. Especially, man, no one's safe. Cena and Ambrose are the one doing it this week. So Steph makes a triple threat tag team match with Usos and Stardust, which opens up the show. That's what we're getting there. So,
what a shock! The Usos and Golden Stardust are opening the show.
Yeah. The one thing I will say though, with the match, which did happen straight after that segment, is that it was interesting to see Ambrose and Cena fighting guys that haven't wrestled either in a long time or at all.
Yeah.
Like seeing the likes of Cena actually lock up with Usos.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, he's always been fighting with them rather than actually against them.
Yeah, exactly. So it was good here. Every now and then, these sort of things give you a clash of styles which we aren't used to seeing. It's fresh. Not that you would have it week in, week out. Obviously, faces don't face faces. There's too much face in that sentence.
Yeah, too much cheer.
That's not the way that wrestling works. But it was interesting. And you could tell that they weren't used to wrestling each other. There's some of the moves were a bit sloppy, but I'll take that. It was fresh.
It was still a good match.
Yeah, that's it. The ironic thing,
I hate triple threat tag matches though.
I'm a little bit more into them than you are.
I'm just not keen on the concept because there's just like, a whole team is on the apron, and they could stay there the whole match.
Yeah, that is.
Theory.
Yeah. The one thing I would say is that a triple threat tag team match with 3 teams that don't know what they're doing could be an absolute disaster. It really could.
Yeah.
But you got 3 teams here that do know what they're doing. You got very experienced guys in the ring.
Well.
What do you mean?
3. I'd say experienced.
Yeah, but we're not exactly talking about green as goose shit guys in the ring, aren't we? We're talking about guys that know what they're doing. That's what I mean. And then you've got ring generals, like you've got Cena, you've got Goldust, who, if stuff does go wrong, they'd be the guys to sort it out, so that's fine. What is ironic about this, with me saying that it's fresh, seeing Cena the likes of lock up against Usos, it is ironic considering the pay-per-view match that he now has is anything further from fresh. So, a little bit of a precursor there that we're going to talk about later on. But I thought the match itself was decent. I thought it was a good enough opener. You get what you get. You get good matches with, especially Star and Goldust and Usos in the ring when the shit hits the fan, and that's their calling card now. That things.
I do kind of want to see a different opening match though.
Yeah, we've seen Stardust and Goldust against Usos a lot.
Yeah.
Not only just like them fighting for the belts, but them involved in 6-man tag matches and stuff.
Yeah.
I do know what you mean there. Yeah, and I agree.
I think this kind of goes with what we were talking about yesterday with the Wyatts.
Yes. Yeah. It's a shame because I think that they're going to do one more match with Usos and Stardust and Goldust. It makes sense, to be honest. But because they've booked it in a sense that they've just been constantly wrestling each other without any promos or building up to it, it does feel a little bit like they're lacking a little bit of passion for the rivalry.
Yeah.
I hope that they have something else to go forward from there, but we'll see. But I thought it was a good enough opening match. As you say then, Matt, thinking of it now, they do that too much with Stardust and Goldust and Usos, so people just won't care about them anymore. So.
Especially considering it was such a pain because it was only a few years ago where the tag team division, we was commenting on it, that the tag team division was stronger than ever.
Yes, yeah.
And now it's died.
Well, no, I think it's far better now than it was like a year, 2 years ago.
Yeah, but like, how many times are we going to have to see Los Matadores fight Slater Gator?
Yeah.
And how many times are we going to have to watch Usos fight Goldust Stardust?
I think that's more of an issue of management not knowing what to do with any of the mid-card. The mid-card, in terms of storylines and rivalries and big intense feuds, has been very neglected for years. And, you know, talking about that, Hell in a Cell is a huge, example of that. Everything has been revolving around Ambrose, Rollins, Orton, and Cena. That's
apparently now they've released a card for it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that they've barely made any reference. I mean, yeah, some of the, you may say, oh yeah, some of the US and the Intercontinental titles, but I think that's a cop out because they just basically switched the number one contenders. You know what I mean? It is a bit.
There's been no real build up to anything.
Yeah, so I think the mid card has been neglected here, but. After the match, anyway, after Ambrose and Cena get the victory, Triple H loses his bet, stating, "Oh, he thought the guys were going to beat the crap out of each other." He loses $1.
$1.
That's it.
But they're married, so I don't quite understand how he's actually lost it. It's just going from his wallet to her purse.
Yeah, that's it.
But it still stays in the family.
Exactly. And as a married man, I know that all too well. You know,
like you carry your wallet.
I don't, man. Am I trusted with money? Get real. Nah, honestly. But yeah, but I get it. It was a little bit of a comedic thing. I didn't laugh, but fair enough. Whatever.
Yeah, $1. It's like,
yeah. Next bit. I thought that they set up Cena and Ambrose for tonight. They announced that match, the pole match, will happen as the main event of the night. Okay, here's my issue with that. It kind of removes the point of the Authority wanting these guys to tear each other apart. Because if they were to do that at the opening match of Hell in a Cell, then you could sell Ambrose. We talked about last week the idea of Ambrose going into his match with Rollins after going over Cena as a battered guy that he's less than 50% because he really had to fight with all of his might just to get the match in the first place.
Yeah.
Their whole idea of the Authority wanted these two guys to tear each other apart. I mean, come on. Cena was German suplex 16 times, and he came back the next night without any padding.
Yeah.
And you're giving these guys an extra 2 weeks, apparently after brutalizing each other, which they didn't do. But I just thought, in terms of actual continuity and sense, yeah, that didn't make much sense to me.
But now we get to see 100% Ambrose versus 100% Rollins.
Yes, we do, for 1 week.
Yeah. Because it's bound to happen. There's going to be an attack on Raw.
Yeah.
In fact, I know there was an attack on SmackDown.
Oh, well, there you go. Exactly. But what I would state is that I think WWE have not... I don't think WWE knew what they wanted their card to be at the start of the run-up to this pay-per-view. And it's damaged the pay-per-view.
Yeah. Quick, rush booking.
Yeah, it's rushed booking. I mean, the whole Cena against Orton thing is the poster child for rushed booking. And exhausted booking in that case. Moving forward, anyway, AJ Lee and Layla with Paige and Alicia Fox. They show a video package here of AJ trying to convince Layla that she won't walk out of her on her this week like she did to Emma last week.
Because out of all of the divas, you're my most favourite.
My least hated, I think.
That's it, my least hated.
That's it. During the match, Layla walks out on her. It was a poor match. It wasn't very good.
Yep.
AJ still wins, however, with the shot.
And Layla gets attacked for it.
Yeah, exactly. And so then Layla gets thrown around the ring. I imagine, Matt, you weren't too happy with about that. You're a big fan of Layla.
I'm a fan of Layla just purely on eye candy. Apart from that, that's it. I could not care.
She's okay.
Yay! She's got a good boob she's got good boobs and a great ass. I don't care the fact that she's getting beaten up. That means she's doubling over. You better bum.
That's it. People are going to call you sexist, Matt. You evil dog, you. Wow.
Woof.
Woof woof. Yeah, that's it. We appreciate both the attractive women and the good female wrestlers on the show. In fact, me and Matt have always said that there's a role for non-wrestling female managers, i.e. the likes of Lana on the show, who is incredibly hot. In fact, is my Layla, shall we say, on the show. She can speak as much Russian to me as she likes. However, I would state to you, Matt, don't you feel like the AJ Page rivalry has just gone on too long and has lost a lot of steam?
I'm very bored of it.
Very, very much bored.
I just like just have your rubber match and just get it over with.
Yeah, I mean, technically they had their rubber match. It's getting a little bit stagnant.
Yeah,
it smells.
It's like, you're not my friend anymore. It screams like playground arguments.
Yeah,
you're not my friend. She's now my friend. It's like, oh god, just make it stop.
What it seemed like to me is that WWE don't want the belt or a rivalry involving a Total Diva, mainly because of the way that Total Divas is aired. Okay, they've made that.
I've got no problem with that.
Yeah, I've got no issue with it, right? But that is a lot of their roster. Okay, a lot.
Yeah.
So they've now got AJ, they've got Alicia Fox, they've got Paige, they've got the likes of Layla and a few others.
I think that's actually about it. Because if you think about it, Paige isn't on it, AJ's not on it, Layla's not on it, and Alicia Fox isn't on it.
Yeah.
I can't think of another diva who's not on it.
Yeah, exactly. Emma as well, but she's barely.
Emma's not in that sort of title.
Yeah, she wouldn't be in a title hunt anytime soon as well. Well, WWE have been known to make stranger decisions, but it does seem as if a little bit like they were like, okay, who does Paige and AJ rival with now? There's not enough of people for them to rival with. Let's just let them go another month until we figure out what we're doing. The problem with that is that these two girls are locked in a rivalry that's already played out.
Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm more than happy for Charlotte to come up. I think Charlotte coming up and being a real good, with the character that she has, which is a very sort of,
and she would get over.
She would, as a really good heel.
But she'd still get woos.
Yeah. I think there's no reason why you shouldn't play up to that. But she comes across. I mean, it's her gimmick has come full circle at NXT. Yes, she believes that she's the best. Right, and she carries herself like she does, okay? And she will say to people, I'm going to beat you because I am the best.
Yeah, I am the best. Why am I the best? Because I am the daughter of a 16-time world champion.
Yeah.
Since the day I fell out of my mum, I have been trained and conditioned to be the best.
Yeah, exactly. And that initially makes people boo her, which is the right response. But the reason being is that the way that she's been booked on NXT is that, wait a minute, she says she's the best, and she is. And
did you see?
She has a lot of respect for the people that fight her.
Yeah. Recently, it was the rematch after Takeover, because they had a rematch of Charlotte and Bayley. A figure 4 bridge.
Yes. Oh, it was beautiful. That was a thing of beauty.
That would kill.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
Yeah, man. I would be more than happy for them to take that move off the Miz just so Charlotte can do that. I'd be more than happy for her.
That's it.
But yeah, I don't think they've got any plans to bring Charlotte up personally. This is just us say
Ascension's next.
It'd be alright. Yeah, Ascension would be next. But yeah, it does feel like a little bit like maybe they've run out of options, so they're just going with the status quo. Problem is that these girls are being damaged because of it, because there's no direction. Really, they're just keeping it going for now. That's a shame. Backstage, Orton says that he's going to destroy Ziggler tonight. He doesn't want Rollins stealing his spotlight. He brings up the idea of him facing the loser of Ambrose and Cena at the pay-per-view.
Yep.
Word is that WWE were trying very, very hard in all their script writing that not to make the Orton and Cena match seem like a loser's match, seem like the loser against a loser, right?
Which unfortunately they've now said is to be the main event.
Exactly.
The fuck.
Yeah. Two things that are just funny about this whole thing is that if that's what they're trying hard to do, they try to hide it, but it still comes off that way. There's no way of getting rid of it.
Yeah, you don't hold the contract. Yeah. Sorry. You lost.
Exactly. And technically it is a loser's match because the people that lose are the fans. We don't want to see Cena and Orton again. I feel we're going to have to do this one week in the next couple of weeks. We were wrong, we were damn wrong segment where we talk about the fact that we actually said back when these guys started wrestling each other again, it's like, well, they haven't wrestled each other for a few years. Let's see what they can do with each other now. WWE aren't stupid enough to keep them fighting each other week in, week out. And
we were wrong.
We were wrong. We were damn wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't think of anyone that's even remotely interested. But we're going to go into more reasons why that match doesn't make sense. But still, if they had put that much thought, I mean, they really wanted to protect Orton and Cena here and not make it seem like a losers match. If they had that much thought with the likes of Wyatt and Cesaro, half as much as they did for Cena and Orton,
they'd be safe.
They'd be safe. Yeah, they'd be fine. Maybe if they had, then they would have more than just 2 stars in their eyes in the show. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe, but still, feel like we're beating a dead horse with that. Ziggler then against Orton. Now, Cesaro is on commentary during the match. One thing I will state about before we talk about the match is obviously Cesaro being on commentary. He tries as best as he can to make an impact here, to try and make his voice heard. I think they need to seriously think about when they do these guest commentators, wrestler commentators, is that technically then you have a 4-man commentary booth. It's going to be very hard for anyone, even the other commentators, to get their voice heard.
Yeah.
Too many people. So either they detract and don't do it as much. Maybe have the people on, someone on the instead of on commentary, they're at ringside or something along those lines, or they're on the ramp, or maybe they're backstage.
Or maybe like a backstage interview. Because they how many times do they sometimes oh, and here's such and such watching on the TV out the back.
Yeah, and it doesn't take away from the match because they show it once and you're still watching the match. It's just you can see him there watching it as well.
Yeah.
I just Cesaro here didn't come off that well, and commentary don't help as well. They're always putting down the guy. It's not like, wow, we've got Cesaro here. What a fantastic honor it is to have Cesaro. I know the faces shouldn't do that as much, but it's like they attack the heels a little bit too. Like they feel like they've got too much of a free reign just to call them out on their bullshit. Do you imagine that, in 20 years ago, if Austin sat at ringside as a heel, which he was every now and then,
you wouldn't hear commentary.
Because
the moment Austin got a whisper of, this guy's a dick.
Yeah, it would be
you are not here in the match, because Austin will tear that commentator apart.
Yeah, and it's like these guys will be scared because these guys are 6'4" behemoths, 280 pounds. Why would they want to say anything bad about the guy? Because then they could kick the shit out of him. That was how heels were booked back then.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, now we could just feel free just to put you down and say, oh, well, you lost this match, didn't you? It's like,
don't be a dick.
I don't like that change, personally, yeah. However, this match was very, very, very good. I know you were very happy with this match.
I was very happy. In fact, I will probably go as far to say match of the night.
Match of the night. Here's a shocker. This doesn't get my match of the night, but it is very, very good. World class, very good. I thought the match afterwards was better, but that may be controversially so. But still, I think we both.
It's a tough one. A tough one. I think it had the better finish.
Oh, without question. The finish of this match was phenomenal. But anyway, the match was very, very good. I think the only thing that detracts away from this is that the one thing that you'd associate with Ziggler matches is that they're very of a high tempo. Orton doesn't wrestle at a high tempo. That's part of his gimmick, is to slow things down. It's to make you not like the guy, that he's taken so long to do his moves. It's a heel tactic. Worked better back in the olden days of wrestling. But, you can see where he's coming from. So that's why I maybe didn't enjoy it as much as you did, but I still heavily enjoyed it. I thought this was great wrestling. And what some of the Orton and Ziggler can have a fantastic match. Orton doesn't get the credit I think that he deserves for having some of the world-class matches that he can have. For
being that sort of wrestler, for being a great wrestler. He is. I mean, as much as JBL likes to do if you were just to build a champion from the ground up, he'd look like Randy Orton. It's well, yeah. Because he's good.
Yeah, he is good. Some people just knock on him because he isn't the best promo. He can get very boring. You can tell that when he's not into it, it comes off, in his promos and stuff like that. But when he's in the ring with someone that he wants to work with, he will do fantastic work. So yeah, and this was one
such match.
Yeah, The end of the match, as you say there, Matt, Orton has obviously had plenty of practice RKOing lots of people all across the internet recently. So he pulled this one out of the bag. Looks like he's pulling up for a powerbomb, and then he pushes up Ziggler in the air and then RKOs him with authority. Still not as good as the Evan Bourne one, but it's pretty much up there. It's a good one. Almost to the fact he did do a Cameron and try and pin Ziggler while Ziggler was face down.
I did notice that. I was like, oh, but I'll accept it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll allow it because at least he didn't shout at the referee.
Yeah, exactly. He just rolled them over and pinned him, and that's fine. Look, come on, like some people get maybe a bit too picky. You had a great match, an awesome finish to the match, very unexpected, I might add.
Yeah.
He made one little mistake. Maybe he thought that after the move because he wasn't looking at Ziggler. Ziggler would do his trick. We see how often do we see Ziggler bump, turn inside out, flip around to do all this shit? He thought maybe Ziggler was already on his back.
Yeah.
It's just a small mistake. My match of the night goes to Rollins and Jack Swagger.
After Rollins turns up, like at the end to watch.
Yeah, to watch the Ziggler and Orton match, and he turned up at the right time really to see the best parts of that match. So
yeah.
I
like that because like when Rollins turned up, it definitely upped the ante with the match.
Yeah, and he didn't take away anything from the match. It's not as if they kept cutting to Rollins. They didn't take any camera time away from the match. They didn't keep talking about Rollins being there. He was there and he served his purpose. And it was very much a one-upsmanship sort of thing, going backwards and forwards between them.
And then the true one-upsmanship began when it's like, yay, Orton's won. I'm going to curb stomp Ziggler.
Yeah, exactly.
Dick.
Yeah. But then obviously as Rollins has his match here, as commentary at the beginning of this match, they're talking about the network. We used this by now. King drops a line, and it's the best line I've heard in months from King. The best line. It's very simple. You may have missed it, in fact. He says the line, "Let's talk more about the match."
Yes.
Fantastic. Well done, King. You get our commentator of the week. There you go.
You get a gold star.
You get a big gold star. Well done, King. Yes, let's talk more about the match because the match was excellent. Back-to-back excellent matches. Me and Matt have not been able to say that on this show for a very, very long time. And that's why we enjoy podcasting more about this than ranting about stuff that's going on. Like we've said before, we would much rather talk about fantastic matches, the moves that were done, the chemistry that people had in the ring, than ranting about the idiot celebrities that WWE decide that are going to get them mainstream attention, and it's just horrific. So we love talking about this sort of stuff.
But yeah, I would agree with you. I enjoyed the first one more, but I enjoyed it. It's like that. It's that really awkwardness. Like, but which do you prefer? But they're both the same. They're both as good. No, you got to pick one. Ooh.
The thing I thought about this match, and the thing maybe that took it for me, is that you put Ziggler and Orton in the ring. You know those two guys have had phenomenal matches. Yeah, you can kind of expect them to have a great match because Orton demands time in the ring. It's very rarely that you get an Orton match where he doesn't at least get a good amount of time to do something. Yeah. You don't associate Orton with having quick 3-minute matches. Are you
implying that part of it that was so good was the fact that it reminds you, hang on, Swagger can have good matches?
Well, not so much that. It's that WWE gave these guys the time to do a match of that quality. Rollins is the guy on the push, but we've seen him have very quick, very methodical matches, even though he's had fantastic matches as well. I'm just saying that, he doesn't have as much weight to pull as Orton in terms of getting minutes in the ring. But they got just as much time as Ziggler and Orton and pulled out a very, very great match.
I did very much like the opening skit where it's just like Swagger just like trying to manhandle, and it's just Rollins just like roll away.
Yeah. I thought this match was really good for displaying exactly what Rollins can do in the ring. It showed you his very quick and impressive moveset, a very large arsenal of very amazing moves that he can pull out at a moment's notice. I thought it really showed him, and as you say there, Matt, as well, it showed you as well that when Swagger wants to go, he can go.
Yeah.
Especially
it just makes you remind you where it's like, he used to be world champion, and now I kind of remember why.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he was ever, like, when he won the world title, he was worse than he was now, so I think it's subjective. I don't think he was a bad world champion, but there we are. That's more so that his gimmick was so bloody annoying back then, Jesus Christ. On your knees.
American.
Yeah, that's it. Rollins wins the match anyway with like a package pin, like a sunset roll pin. I know there's an actual name for it, and I pride myself on knowing a lot of the wrestling holds and moves and stuff, so it annoys me. Do you know the move of it? Bret Hart used to use it all the time. The cradle pin.
Yeah.
There we go. I knew it would come back to me. I just couldn't think of it when I was making my notes.
Like, float over cradle.
The float over, yeah, that's it. So he wins with that. Like I said, it does remind me of Bret Hart winning tons of matches in that fashion. So good stuff. Then Orton afterwards, it looks like as soon as the match is over, Orton's like, okay, well, I've RKO'd the internet, so let's RKO Swagger to send a message. I thought these back-to-back matches are probably the most ideal part of Raw to watch. I thought they were really well done. And as I said there, how many times have you and me, Matt, said on this show, look at these great back-to-back matches? I haven't been able to say it that many times. That?
I
don't think we've ever said it.
I can't think so.
But we can say it today. With
great pride, we can say this. Like, this is definitely one of those ones, like you say, you've used it before with bad segments. It's like, you hate having to go, yeah, well, this is wrestling.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
This is shit. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I would be happy.
And now it's like, this is what we watch it for.
Yeah. I would be happy to show this to people and say, look at the intensity, look at the competitiveness, look at the unpredictability of this match and the storylines that both these guys told in the ring.
Yeah, especially considering both matches clean.
Yes, very, very fluid. Very crisp. So yeah, fair play. Rollins, Swagger, Ziggler, Orton, you guys get a big thumbs up from us this week. Thank you very much for giving us back-to-back very world-class matches. Very good. Renee Young, backstage with her man, Dean Ambrose. We all know that these guys are friends with benefits, apparently is the word.
It was very awkward. It was just like, there's tension.
She asks Ambrose, what can we expect from him tonight? Maybe she was saying that in a more personal reason. She knows what she can expect, yeah. Hello. But Ambrose says that he won't be a nice guy. He's going to put Cena in his place and then send Rollins straight to hell.
No, he started thinking, that's not quite here.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. But, I thought that the promo here was a little bit cheesy here by Ambrose, but
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. At least I made a note here. At least it isn't another Cena Renee Young segment. We did get one of those later on.
And the crowd, and it's all gone crazy on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
That's some loyalty, respect, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah, that's it. I've had enough Cena Young segments, but shockingly enough, I thought that the Cena Renee Young segment at the end of the show was probably one of the best ones that those two have been affiliated with in a while. Yeah. Man, it just feels fresh to be able to say best and awesome and good so many times on this podcast.
Yeah, it brings a good end to the day, doesn't it?
It does. So Big Show then, backstage with, is it Tom Phillips his name?
Yeah, Tom Phillips.
Tom Phillips, sorry. I always think I'm going to get it wrong with Todd Grisham or something like that, considering he's been gone from the show for a while. I saw him pop up on ESPN, funny enough. Anyway, Big Show says that he proved Rusev isn't unbeatable and that he has a glass jaw and he's going to shatter it. And he says, no offense to Mark Henry, but Big Show will carry the weight of the millions and millions, no, he didn't do that, of Americans on his shoulders. Just basically an opener to the show. The thing is with Show, in terms of mic work with the show, Big Show isn't horrendous on the mic, but he also isn't very good. He's in that very mediocre middle ground.
He's an average promo guy.
Yeah, like almost painfully average. That it's not really much you can talk about. It's that at least sometimes with the bad stuff, for better or worse, are memorable. I very much doubt that me and Matt are going to forget Kathy Lee Gifford and Hoda for a very long time. But me and Matt will forget about this little mini promo a week from now. And that's the thing with Big Show on the mic. He's okay, but he's never been better than that. It's like Mark Henry. Like he's very average on the mic, but every now and then he will pull out a world-class promo out of his ass. Like his retirement speech will go down for me as one of the best promos I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing. So much so I didn't think the guy was capable of it. Big Show doesn't tend to do the same things. In fact, he's been more related to the fact that he cries a lot. So
yeah,
there we are. Big Show against Rusev. So this match is not happening at the pay-per-view apparently, because it happened here. I think they will redo it, but we'll see. Lana reminds us that it's Columbus Day and drops the local baseball team slam. And man, when I talk about using the the cheap heat of the whole patriotic angle, which it is cheap heat, coupling that with the hometown team heat as well. Man,
yeah,
Jesus.
It's just like heat, like how to gain heat 101.
Yeah, it's just they literally read the first page on the simplest ways to get heat. Be a foreigner and hate the country.
Home team, hometown, foreign.
Yeah,
done.
That's it. Done. There we are. And people might say, "Oh, it's been done so many times before, and it's so cheap." Yeah, it has been done so many times before. It is cheap heat, but the crowd is still booing the guy. It obviously works.
That's it. There's nothing wrong with cheap heat.
Nothing wrong with cheap heat at all. In fact, the majority of local wrestling promotions only use cheap heat because they don't have any other option to do that, because they don't have the option of having very long-term storylines and stuff like that. Cheap heat, very grassroots cheap heat, sometimes is the best. So we can appreciate that. How many times have you come out and you've seen the same indie guy say the same promo slamming the crowd, time and time again?
You guys all suck. Your mum's a whore.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
Blah, blah, blah.
Me and Matt have heard
this
it.
This town's a shithole.
Yeah, I'll be glad when I get out of here. It smells like shit, stuff like that. We've heard it time and time again, but it's cheap heat and it works because people want to hate you. Then it's the way it works. So Rusev says here, and we've noticed that Rusev's been taking the mic a little bit more recently, and he does.
Not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. He's not horrific. He's kind of the same as Big Show at the moment. But the difference is Big Show's at the end of his career, Rusev's at the start. So in that sense. But he says that Big Show will fail the stupid Americans like Mark Henry did, and I'm happy with him taking the mic a little bit. Lana still needs to be...
He still does get a bit physical, though, because it's like, if you had a spine, I would rip it out of you. It's like, wait, tone it back a little bit.
Yeah. But at least it's intense. One of the things I can say, one thing I slammed, and a lot of people did as well, agreed with me last week, that Roman Reigns in his promo, he wasn't nearly intense enough. He seemed like he didn't care. I would much rather have Rusev here.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that, and to be perfectly honest, I can kind of... Like, I was just thinking back, it's like, yeah, and I'm going to come along, and I'm going to punch someone. Yeah,
essentially. I know you were a bit more defensive of it. I slammed the...
I was more defensive, and then suddenly it's just sort of like in an afterthought, and I actually watched it again, and I was like, script written all over it.
Yeah. But when you got the difference here, you got Rusev gritting his teeth. He really looks like he really wants to punch an American in the face right there and right there.
That's it. You, small boy in the front row.
I'm going to eat you. Yeah, that's it. So I appreciate that. And because he's getting that much heat, him being that intense doesn't seem out of place. So it's fair enough. So and you know what? For what we're saying, all the stuff about cheap heat, and people might... Oh, he's cheap heat, not really, he doesn't get heat like Punk did. The fans were still really into this match. Doesn't matter what type of heat you get, heat is heat. And the anti-American gimmick will always work from the year 1950 to the year 2250. The cheap heat, anti-American, anti-hometown crowd will always work. As you said,
until it starts getting on like a galactic scale where it's just like, you know what, I fucking hate Earth.
Yeah.
Like going America versus Russia versus the US will always get heat.
That's it.
Or anyone versus the US.
You're stating in the year 2250 we might have aliens from the planet Omicron Persei 8 coming over and saying we hate Earth.
That's it.
Like that, cheap heat. If the aliens of Omicron Persei, I give people an added bonus if they know what that's a reference to. So there we go. Anyway, so the match itself, didn't like it. I just didn't like the pacing of it. I will say, however, that Rusev delivered a drop kick here that you would associate...
beautiful drop kick.
You would, if you would have just pasted over Dolph Ziggler doing that.
I'm adamant it was actually Ziggler in a fat suit.
Yeah, it was pitch perfect, and the guy got so many feet up in the air. It was magic, and that's one of the selling points of Rusev. Yeah, he's a big, chunky guy, but he could get around that ring.
It's the whole, he is the super athlete.
Yeah.
And, like, he drops stuff like that, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
He drop kicked, but it's not like he drop kicked the Big Show and kicked him in the gut. He drop kicked the Big Show and caught him in the mouth.
Yeah, right, yeah, and I mean, come on, that's Big Show's head. There's a reason he's called Big Show. I thought that was mighty impressive. The more he does stuff like that, the more he's going to draw attention to himself for the right reason. So, really good. Madness, I thought that was.
Yeah.
It was a lengthy match. I'm not saying it was horrendous.
I did quite like the fact there was a lot of... it went to and fro quite nicely.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to kind of tone it back a little bit. When I say I didn't like the match, I didn't mean it was horrific. It was given enough time and it did what it needed to do. And it wasn't as if I was watching it and I was like, okay, I just want to fast forward. I just can't stand this match. I just wouldn't go back and watch it again.
Oh, no.
Whereas the 2 matches earlier on, I would.
Yeah.
That we were praising. So that's the only thing there. When we slam matches, I want people to know the difference of when I'm slamming a match and just outright don't even want to talk about it, and a match like this, because there is a difference. Mark Henry comes...
It's sort of like a good match, but not a wow match.
Yeah, that's it. Mark Henry comes into the ringside and attempts to rally Big Show. Rusev knocks him over, and then Henry, being pissed off, as he usually is nowadays, goes back and hits him, gives Rusev the DQ victory. Considering how beaten, I thought that the reason why they did this finish is to show, and commentary were alluding to this, is that we never knew if Big Show was going to tap out. He didn't lose the match and stuff like this, and along these lines. It looked like they were going for the vague finish, and if they were going for that,
let's just take the Swagger storyline, let's give it a wash, rinse it out, and we'll go with that.
Yeah, if they were going for the vague finish, I think it was executed very poorly.
Yeah,
because to me, and I guarantee to a lot of people watching that show, we're not gonna believe that Big Show was on the brink of breaking out of that move. It looked like he was beaten, well beaten, to the point that he was gone, that he was done, essentially. So if they were going for this, they could have had it that Big Show was just about to power out of the Accolade, and then Mark Henry came in, but it wasn't done that way. So I don't know what they're doing with this. He gets knocked out at the end of the show. Henry and Big Show corner him and knock him out. But I don't know whether they're going to have another Big Show Rusev match, because this did seem to have some sort of finality to it. But even if they did, it's a little bit like, well, you kind of played it out,
I'm still done. I'm just done with it.
Yeah.
Like it's like I enjoyed the match, and there were like we said, there were feats in it that were really impressive. Like I said, drop kick.
Yeah.
But I'm getting really bored.
What of the Rusev stuff?
Yeah.
I can agree.
The thing is, they're taking the gamble on just USA. It's like I'm not American. Like personally, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like there's only so many times you can slate America, but hey, I'm not American. I slate America too. Pew pew, America.
Yeah.
But
the only way that I think they can get even more longevity out of the Rusev storyline, because I don't think they want him to get beaten till WrestleMania. And you and me have said categorically on the show, we think that that heat won't last till Mania. You've got a lot of time. That being said, if you were to put the US belt on him, that opens up a whole broad range of avenues you could do with the guy. And I was a big advocator of putting the US belt on him ages ago. But whether or not they've got the same train of thought, we don't know. Especially the fact that if he does win the US belt, he's being an Irishman to do it, and you really want the payoff of him being a American.
You want him to beat an American for the American belt.
Yeah, that's it. No, they can still do it with him beating Sheamus, and winning the United States title along those lines. You can see it happening now. Maybe Sheamus saying, I may not be American, but I have my trade out. I love the American people, and I won't let this belt I hold so proudly being put over to this monster.
He's been at the company more than 5 years now, surely.
Yeah, he's been there.
Sheamus.
Yeah.
So it's like, America's been my home for so many years and all that lot. So
yeah, you can see how
that route.
You can see how it plays out. I can personally see probably word for word them doing that sort of thing. But that's the only thing I can think that can give it a little bit more longevity. And I don't know. Maybe they are going to do another Big Show Rusev match. Or maybe they're going to go absolutely crazy and go, you know what, we'll do Big Show and Mark Henry against Rusev, and somehow he manages to get out of that.
2-in-1 handicap match.
Yeah, but then you're making the heel...
stinks.
Yeah, that makes the heel then look like the guy who's being dicked on a bit. He's legitimately one-on-one. Rusev hasn't cheated to beat any of his people.
No.
He's beating them clean. And that's the way you should do it. So, there we are. So yeah, be interesting to see what they do with Rusev next week, and maybe he just gets I very much doubt it, but maybe he does get a pay-per-view off. I don't agree with it personally.
We'll find out.
Renee Young backstage with Sheamus. He says the only thing worse than one Miz is two Miz's, or Mizai, or Mizzies. That's enough to give someone a headache. Man, I'm getting weird. Headache, sorry. I'm just, I've got cakes in the room that I'm podcasting in right now, and they look very nice.
That one.
And I'm thinking of eating cakes. So, headache. He says that, you know what will solve that? Two bro cakes. I said cakes again.
I'm going
to move them. They're out of the room, guys. They're out of the room. Okay. Two bro kicks will fix it. So, that whole joke. I thought the joke sucked. It reminds me of the whole
Is it really bad that I kind of have some admitting to do?
Go on.
I fell asleep.
Wow!
I fell asleep at this point, and I woke up at the finish of this match.
Well, to be honest, I think that's saying a lot there. To be honest, I don't think. What could we have missed this? Was this really worth my time? It was a really bad attempt at comedy, which Sheamus is the biggest offender for on the show.
Well, this is it. I don't feel like I have missed anything, so obviously not.
No, you just instead of watching some really bad comedy and Sheamus doing his usual thing of cutting a little joke, smiling, then leaving, you had a nice little nap.
Yeah.
I think that was probably a better use of your time.
The power nap, yeah.
So, there we are. Talking of the match here, here's the thing. They talked to Todd Chrisley, or Chrisley, I don't know how you say his name. I think it's Chrisley.
Oh, yeah, I missed that wanker.
Yeah, that's it.
All I remember is I've seen footage of there's a guy in the background doing the whole dick suck.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Go back. You will see him. He's right in the background.
I didn't even catch that, but maybe you're more tuned to that sort of thing than I am, Matt.
I saw a video of it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see this bit. I was asleep.
Oh, of course, yeah, of course. So I'll tell you here, we've been heavily critical of the celebrity input that's been done in the last couple of weeks. This, however, I don't want to watch his show. I don't know why he's famous. I don't know why he has a reality show. I have no inclination. I probably won't even like the guy. But the plug here was very quick, and it was over it was over before it started. So it wasn't as if he got in the ring, he started having a crazy dance and stuff like that. He plugged the show. It was a very cookie cutter plug. And
did
then
he even say anything? Because I saw, he didn't. He was sat in the crowd anyway.
No, he did. They actually put Tom Phillips out there to go and talk to him for a little bit. Basically,
like they did with the kosher butcher.
Yeah, sort of like that, right? And then they were stating, my son's a big WWE fan and stuff like that. So you put over the show. I honestly don't have an issue with it. It wasn't long enough for me to be like, ugh, get this off my TV. It was like they did it in the middle of Sheamus coming out to the ring. So it wasn't as if we were missing that much anyway.
Oh, okay. So it's just stagnant time anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the 10-minute bullshit promo that we were that I was expecting from them. Him to come to the ring, do some bad comedy, bring out someone, and then maybe his sons tackle him or something. You can see how many times have we seen that? Yeah. But it wasn't. It was a quick plug. I haven't got an issue with it. I think that was fine.
Okay, done.
Yeah, that's it. So a big part that people thought we were going to rant about this week, I thought it was okay.
Well, if that was the case, then why bother advertising that he was even going to be on the show?
Yeah, a little bit, but to be honest, maybe they booked him and realised after all the backlash they got off of Gifford and Hoda last week, then maybe they should tone it down a bit. And fair enough, they did tone it down, so that's okay. So you can tell we said this the last couple of weeks. You can tell management doesn't really care about Miz at all. Commentary has got around to calling him goofy and silly. Do you remember when he returned and they were all about his stellar movie career, how he's such a star now, and even the likes of Cole was kind of buying into it. Oh yeah, he's been in this big blockbuster movie, the Marine 4,
He's the Marine and all this lot, yeah.
all this lot. And now it's like, oh, this guy's so silly. He's just a straight to DVD star, and it's a little bit like, yeah, okay, he was a straight-to-DVD star, but he was in a WWE Studios movie. Wake up. Someone remind them of this, please, because it's making me feel awkward for them at this point. It's just stupid. They keep making jokes about his movies, how he's so straight-to-DVD, and it's like, the only movies he's ever worked on are WWE movies, so I just don't. I think it's quite funny, personally, that they can overlook that. However, this wasn't really The Miz versus Sheamus. It was Sandow against Vacant.
Of course.
It was the Sandow show. Now, you said that you came into this at the end of this match because you fell asleep, right?
Yep. So I don't actually know about this match.
Yeah. Essentially, the camera, more often than not, was following what Sandow was doing out of the ring than what was happening inside of the ring. Now, people might be expecting me to go mental about it because, oh, you're hypocrites, Tony, because you're not going to rant about it. To be honest, that was more entertaining than what was going on in the ring anyway. So, Sandow's recent battles with Vacant have been classics. Classics.
Speaking of Vacant,
go on.
Do you know one thing I learned? When the day I was born, do you know who the WWF champion was?
It was Vacant, was it?
It was Vacant.
Wow, the longevity of Vacant, man. The longevity. What a professional that guy is.
That's it. After taking the belt from Andre the Giant, Vacant.
Wow, that's impressive there, I have to say. But yes, Sandow, people were laughing, they were joking with him, they thought that everything that he was doing was fantastic. Even the commentary.
Everything Sandow does is fantastic.
Yeah. Now we've said before, and we actually responded. I think our first fan feedback was regarding Sandow, right?
Yeah.
That we don't like the gimmick he's in, and we don't, right? We still don't like it. But, because we think he can be much better. But he's making something out of a pile of poo that he's been given. He's doing everything he can in his power to make something out of this.
He's in a similar situation. Like, we commended Drew McIntyre for being it, of 3MB, but he was the one person going 100% into it.
Yeah, that he was Sandow is 100% Miz's stunt double, and he'll do everything he can to get that over. And the thing is, if he's doing this for something that isn't a very good gimmick for him, and it's basically just a sub gimmick just to get him, he's not even really a manager, you know what I mean? He's a subservient, stunt double, right? Imagine if you gave him something that was good. How good he could make that then in turn. That's what annoys us.
I just want to hear the hallelujah and the bathrobe, and I just want that back.
Well, that being said,
never have it, but I want it back.
That being said, he was doing a lot of nothing with that gimmick for a very long time.
But the thing is, we had this whole, I came with the whole plan, when he was, Money in the Bank. And it's just that would have been great, and we would have had Cody in a decent position, and all things like that. Nope.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was so long ago now.
Nope.
That was back when Cody was, that was just after the Rhodes Brothers rivalry, wasn't it?
You don't be a Cody.
Yeah. Not creepy Cosmic Key Cody that we have.
Yeah. But now, if I want lofty tofty heels, I'm gonna have to stick with NXT with the vaudevillains.
Yeah, that's it. But what I mean, he's making the best of what he's got, and you have to give him props for that.
Oh yeah.
I think he should be commended, really. So as the match goes to the outside, the Miz uses essentially twin magic. To fool Sheamus into a count-out victory. I thought it was at least a inventive finish. And it's 2 victories now that Miz has against the champion, so you can expect a title match at the pay-per-view going forward. But the best thing about this match was Sandow, without question. It really was. It was the Sandow show, this entire match. And I've got to give props to the guy, because he's doing everything in his power to do something with what he's given, so...
It's there's one thing that I remember reading somewhere that JR once said. It's it doesn't matter whether you get 30 seconds or 30 minutes, you use that time 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously Sandow is a follower of that said teaching. He's doing everything that he can do. Backstage, the Divas are talking to Nene Leakes.
Yeah.
It was Nene, but it's actually Nene Leakes. I don't know who Nene Leakes is.
All I know is she's really tall.
Yeah. With a lot of these people that have been added, you've got Todd Chrisley, you've got Kathleen Gifford and Hoda, you've got Nene Leakes. I'm either out of the loop or WWE are putting some really low...
Dude, we're not American.
Yeah, but it's either that, that obviously we don't know a lot of the American celebrities and stuff, but some of them transcend over the pond. And I think those are sort of celebrities that WWE should be going for, like recording
Bob
artists.
Barker transcended across the pond.
Yeah, like we know who Bob Barker is, but I'm not saying anything bad about Nene Leakes in particular. It's just that I don't know who she is. I imagine the majority of people overseas. I would like to know, our American fans...
I saw this thing, and I saw, next week on Raw, this was on Facebook, next week on Raw, Nene Leakes, and I was like, I'm genuinely going through the comments of, and the amount of times I see the words, who is she?
Yeah.
And then celebrity star, and then then just, everyone together sighs.
Yeah.
Just she's off, Real Women of Atlanta or some shit, and suddenly it's just oh no! Yeah. It's happening again.
As we said before, I mean, they've managed to attract Hugh Jackman, Seth Green, Bob Barker, Arnold Schwarzenegger. These are big names.
There's a Shaq one as well.
Yeah, Shaquille O'Neal was on there.
Yeah.
Some of these names that are household names, and they've managed to attract them onto the show. And now it's they're attracting names that I've never heard of before. So that's why I'm saying either I'm out of the loop or, man, they're really picking... they've really gone down a tier.
But don't forget they can always call a Florida Georgia line.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. Just, no. So anyway, Cameron starts mouthing off to the Total Divas and
Cameron was on my TV and I don't like it.
Yeah, okay.
Just put it out there.
Yeah, that's it. And that's essentially all that the thing is, that she just mouths off, does her thing, does her Cameron thing, and then just stops.
I don't know what her Cameron thing is. I don't like it and I want her gone.
Well, basically she just mouths off and moves her hand a lot. I think that's pretty much what she does.
Mm-hmm.
And she works.
Okay.
She works. And she works the camera, which is her favorite staging. Anyway, but
you are my best friend, Tony. Just please do not quote her.
Okay. I'll do that for you, man. I'm gonna miss it. I'm not really, but this leads into the match that's going on next. Natalya, Brie Bella, and Naomi against Cameron, Summer Rae, and Nikki Bella.
A total diva match.
Yeah, all total diva match here. Nene Leakes gets absolutely zero pop. So I imagine, as we were stating before, the majority of the wrestling fans either don't know who she is or don't care. And I couldn't care less really either.
Oh, she did come out separately, didn't she?
Yeah, she came out after everyone else was in the ring. So. Yeah. With Rosa Mendes. So at very least for one show, Rosa Mendes wasn't the odd one, just extra on the side. Brie beats Nikki with the X Factor. It was a quick match here.
Unfortunately, it was longer than the one earlier.
Yeah. The thing I would say about it is that, it is the typical Divas match. But I thought the finish between Brie and Nikki at least had a few bits to it with her bouncing off.
That was a hard tag.
Yeah.
When
that
was a slap, herself in, it's fuck.
Yeah.
Summer Rae has a handprint on her shoulder.
To this day, no less.
Yeah.
But... yeah, I thought that at least the ending had a few good moves where Brie was bouncing against the ropes and using different, did her finish and stuff like that. There was at least something small to be seen here, nothing to go out of your way and see. It's still a total Divas match, but maybe because the show in its general was more positive, I'm more likely to see the more positive stuff in matches like these and not rant about it.
Because exactly. I was still in a very good mood from earlier on. Yeah. So I will forgive this.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like we had a 10-minute segment of it all. Just oh my god, she's a bitch. She's a bitch. Get it away from the camera. Bitch.
Yeah.
And we're done.
Oh, what a glorious soundbite you've just given me there, Matt. Fantastic. Yeah. One thing I will say is that while I was saying that positive, with any of the less inclined wrestlers that were involved in this match, then the match got sloppy. That's just the way it is. So that's the way. There's no way of getting around that, unfortunately. Renee Young with John Cena. And as I said before, I was already sighing as soon as I saw Cena with Renee Young. Just reminded of so many just really boring and cookie cutter Renee Young Cena segments.
Yep.
However,
here's Mike. Be Cena.
Yeah, that's it. One thing I would say is that Cena says that the fans here are excited to get the Hell in a Cell main event tonight. To get what I say is that they're excited to get the Hell in a Cell main event tonight. That's actually wrong. Whoever won that match would go into the main event against Rollins, but being nitpicky there, I guess. Last week, we actually stated the episode title of last week's episode was, is The Rock the best at what he does? Cena here was an alright promo. He was trying to build people up for the match later on, and to a degree, he did so. But when you pair it up to what the likes of what The Rock could do in a similar situation, there's just no comparison there. And that's just more fuel for that question. And the reason I bring this up is that we're getting used to Renee Young and John Cena promos. Back in the days, we got used to and loved The Rock and Lillian Garcia promos.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of a...
One thing will always go, sort of stay with me until the end. It's like, let me ask you something, Lillian. Do you like strudel?
Yeah.
It's like, and that's it. I am on the floor.
Yeah, that's it. Just that's what a classic backstage promo from The Rock, and a lot of them did involve Lillian Garcia or Coach.
Yeah.
So when you pair them up between the likes of there's not really much chemistry between Renee Young here and Cena's just Cena mouthing off and Renee Young posing one
just
question.
Holding the mic.
Yeah. So there's just no comparison there. Cena does try and do his best to kind of get fans riled up for the match, and like I said, he was okay here. He was much more bearable in this segment than he definitely has been in a lot of his other more cookie cutter ones.
Yeah.
But when you pair up to the ways that The Rock could do it with Lillian Garcia, there's just no competition at all. No. Really. But still, it did its thing.
Yeah.
They aired after this something that I know you, Matt, we would have loved when it aired. The first Bray Wyatt return promo. We've had the likes of
We've had the Harper. We've had the
and
Rowan.
This was all focused solely around Bray Wyatt, and again, it was another very well produced video package from these guys. I thought it was really did well, and it's like I said, it feels a little bit like a mini reboot of Wyatt here. And considering all the issues they've had and the horrible year he's had, maybe they can give him at very least the last 2 months of this year as a very strong last 2 months.
Yeah.
So he can forget about the big middle portion, 8 months of his career wasted here, doing nothing, getting beaten by Cena, and losing a lot of steam. Taking him out of the current product and building him back again, maybe getting a big pop when he finally returns, is the way to go with this guy. Give him a bit of fresh air, restart, and go forward. That's the best way to go about it. So I am excited for it, though. The video package has been sublime.
I loved it.
Yeah, very good stuff.
And it's just like, I can't wait. I'm actually really excited for the return of the Wyatts.
Yeah, and I mean,
these video packages are definitely serving their purpose, because I'm just giddy for it.
I mean, like, when they eventually, I think they will return after Hell in a Cell. When they eventually do return, it's only a month that they've been gone, but the way that it's been done, I think the video vignettes...
It feels like ages.
Yeah, it has been. And hopefully this can be the new start that all three members need. Because, I mean, Jesus Christ, I mean, it's not just Bray that's had the bad year. The Wyatts haven't had much of a better year themselves.
That's it. Oh, what's that? You've been defeating the Usos, left, right, centre. Okay. Belts? Nah, you failed.
No, and then suddenly you're losing matches.
Belts? No, failed again.
Yeah. Like they lost those 2 matches with the Usos for the belts, and then just lost tons of matches. Lost to Mark Henry and the Big Show. I think that was a big stamping point that they had nothing going for these guys. So this leads to the main event, the Ambrose versus Cena contract on a pole match. I'm already a little bit worried about this because there's less than 10 minutes left on the entire show, and these guys haven't even had their entrances. So I kind of saw where this was going.
Yep. And then suddenly, is that Seth Rollins' music? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and then Randy Orton's.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Kane.
Yeah.
And the whole authority had a party ringside.
Yeah, that's it. They could have shared a cup of tea with each other, a few biscuits before the match was over. Maybe I'm thinking a little bit too much William Regal on NXT, back in his prime. So whatever on a pole match very rarely impresses. This is the same. It was a poor match, a very poor.
Ziggler had one recently that was quite good.
What, on a pole match?
Yeah.
What did you have of that recently?
I can't remember. I swear Ziggler had one recently.
Yeah. And people might think it's weird, like, oh, but ladder matches, they're often fantastic. Yeah, they are.
It's a different concept, though, with a ladder match.
Yeah, there's a lot more drama to be done with that. With a thing on a pole match, you literally climb turnbuckle, you grab it. And often people can't book that very well, because it's awkward. So, and also it is a wrong type of match to have with two guys that apparently really want to beat each other up.
Yeah.
It's just the wrong match type.
Just call it a TLC match.
Oh yeah, TLC match is awesome. But the thing I disliked about this match is that literally a suplex or two. Yeah, it was outside the ring and on the Titantron. But suplexes, and it's less than a couple of minutes into the match. These two are selling it as if they've been in a 30-minute match, beating the crap out of each other. It was a little bit like it reminded me, unfortunately, of Bray Wyatt selling a clothesline from John Cena as if he got an atomic bomb dropped on him. That I didn't like that, unfortunately.
I wasn't a fan. Yeah. It's just sort of like, really?
Yeah.
Like the Shield's debut match, their TLC match that they had.
Yeah.
And it's just like, Ambrose, really?
Yeah, come on. And not even that. It's just recently we've seen him be involved in very high.
With Evolution.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, and he was getting up and doing a lot of stuff in there. And it didn't make much sense to me. A brawl ensues with both men in the ring and the Authority in the ring. In the chaos of it, Ambrose grabs the contract and he wins the match. It was a poor match, I'm just going to say. It was a cop-out.
Such a cop-out. Yeah. It's just like, yeah, we're going to do that. And then I'm guessing the IWC exploded. Triple H saw it and went, we've got to fix this quick. Fuck it. On a pole match.
Yeah. It wasn't the right way to go about it. I would much preferred Ambrose, just give Orton the night off. You don't have to shoehorn in these guys to have a pay-per-view, right? And that's what they've done here, essentially.
Do you remember when we had that pay-per-view without Cena at all? Do you remember when we had that pay-per-view where there was actually no Cena?
Yeah, it was alright, wasn't it?
I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah. The thing is here is that they've shoehorned in Orton and Cena into the rivalry. Luckily, it hasn't diminished Ambrose's push, luckily. But the perfect way that we said that you could book it is that you could have Cena get beaten by Ambrose at the pay-per-view in a very hotly contested match. Looks like it's going back and forth, but he beats him clean, 100% clean. It could be the biggest night of Ambrose's career. Because then he goes on and he beats Rollins inside.
I think the only problem then is you almost get like a copy and paste of Bryan at Mania.
Yeah, but I would state that...
Win this to get that match that you really want. And you won it. Now go get that match you really want. But you're beaten up, don't forget.
Yeah. Well, I think while I do get what you're saying, I think it'd be different because it's not. I mean, Ambrose isn't going into his Hell in a Cell match with Rollins to beat him. He's going in there to beat him.
There to kill him.
Yeah, you know what I mean. He's going in there to destroy the guy. Not that I should say that. Oh, he does beat him and then Rollins just gets the win at the end. I thought that was really that sort of thing would be really stupid. But you know what I mean? In that sense, it is a little bit different in that sense. But also what I'd state is that whole Bryan thing at WrestleMania 30 was fantastic. Why not at least do that once more?
It's too soon if you're going to copy and paste.
I disagree, personally. But we're not going to agree on everything. Here is the bottom thing of this. Right? So we get Rollins and Ambrose and Hell in a Cell. Fantastic. That's what we wanted. Right? We said this months ago. This is where the rivalry should end. Right? Yeah. Hell in a Cell, perfect place to end a blood feud. But it's also then not the perfect place to have a random match out of nowhere between Cena and Orton. Why should they have a Hell in a Cell match? Why should they have a match? A lot of people are saying, and I agree. It seems like they ran out of ideas, so they're giving us the usual, which is Orton against Cena. And they want them to just have a Hell in a Cell match. To me, when they have the Hell in a Cell match, why should they kill each other in the ring? There's no real reason behind it. You know, I think that a Hell in a Cell match should be saved for rivalries like Rollins and Ambrose, a long-standing blood
feuds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a random match. I think that damages the Hell in a Cell concept.
Well, just think, like, the reason the first Hell in a Cell match even came around was because this shit is getting real between, like, Michaels and Taker.
Yeah, exactly right, yeah.
Like, how are we going to contain this? I don't know. Big sort of 60-foot by 60-foot cage? That's a genius idea.
Yeah. And back then, Hell in a Cell matches were only used for those things.
That's it. Do we want to get really physical? Then we get a cell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not,
exactly.
We'll do it every year.
And, you know, the cell itself became a symbol of, like, epic matches and, you know, something, like a real big selling point. So then they started doing it with stuff like championship matches and stuff like that. I just personally think that this match here...
Taker Mankind.
Yeah, stuff like that. But I think stuff like this here, where they just randomly throw in a match in the cell, damages the cell as a gimmick. And the cell hasn't done that great over the last couple of years anyway, with just random matches being put in there. Much like this one, it's just this is the time of the year that we should have one. Luckily, this rivalry between Ambrose and Rollins has come up to the right point where things have worked out well. But then you've got the other part of the spectrum where it's just like, we're just going to throw these guys together in the cell because we need Cena and Orton to have a match on the show. And it's like they don't seem to listen to people. This Cena and Orton is not a match that people want to see. They're done with it.
Not at all.
So that's the shame with it there. But you take the good with the bad. We're going to get one match we definitely want to see. We get one match we don't want to see. At the moment, when it comes to WWE, we've been getting a lot of stuff we just don't want to see, period. So getting something we really want to see, hopefully will make up for that. However, Matt, here's my question to you. What match do you think will end the show?
A Hell in a Cell?
We know which one we should think ends the show, but whether you think WWE would do that or not is different. I will tell you right now.
I choose to not answer this question, for the answer annoys me.
Yeah. If they air Cena and Orton as the final match of the show, I won't watch it.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to watch it. So, I'll just state that.
It does serve no purpose. It doesn't serve a purpose. Like, if it's the case, I will watch it, but...
Yeah.
Because... You know, we have to. We're podcasters.
One of us has to, yeah.
I won't enjoy it. I probably won't. There's no way in hell I'll enjoy it. It's like, great. It's Cena. Did you know they've apparently had 9 Hell in a Cell matches in their careers together? Like Cena versus Orton, 9 times.
What, in Hell in a Cell? No, I don't think that's right. I think you'll think pay-per-view matches.
I think it's No, it is 7.
They can't have 7 Hell in a Cell matches against each other.
3 each. 3 wins each.
What, not against each other, though? Surely. They haven't had 7 Hell in a Cell matches.
Wrong. Yeah. I know I've read somewhere that they have had 7 Hell in a Cell matches.
Yeah, they probably had 7 Hell in a Cell matches each in their career, but not against each other. Now, there was someone, I listened to Solid Monsters podcast, someone had actually done the math, and they realised that the amount of times that Cena and Orton have fought each other on television is like close to almost 100 times or something, which is mad. You know what I mean? That's really lazy. You got to think that's 100 weeks over almost 2 years of them fighting each other. Wow! If you were to do it week, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this show, I thought, was good. Wow!
I enjoyed.
Jesus Christ! I haven't said that in a while. Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought this match, the show itself had some really high quality matches. It didn't have any really horrific moments on the show. I thought the main event sucked, but it wasn't like this is offensive to me to watch it. You know what I mean? Like some of the stuff we've had recently.
Oh, it's not like they questioned our intelligence. We knew it was going to suck.
Yeah. So we got what we knew from going out from the show, and we got some very good matches we didn't expect.
Yeah.
And it finally gives us some backbone onto the pay-per-view, which we've been asking for weeks. They still don't have enough, but it gives us some backbone onto the pay-per-view, which I think they've really awfully promoted throughout the show. I'd be very shocked if Hell in a Cell does a very big rating, and if it does, it's off of Rollins and Ambrose's back alone. So that's the interesting thing here. But yeah, a lot of people are going to get annoyed with Cena against Orton again. I completely agree with them. I can't exactly defend it at this point. WWE are just giving this match over and over and over and over again. And it's lost any sort of appeal. And putting it inside of a cell does not change that. So, but yeah, you're quite happy with this show in general.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed Raw.
I thought it was right.
There's no way. With what we've had recently, like unless I shouldn't have liked Raw, and it's just the fact that my mind's just been oversaturated with shit.
Yeah, no, I get
that now I'm looking at shit and I think it's good.
Yeah, I get that. It's funny that you should say that, right? I get the same feeling as well. That someone's gonna say, "Oh, this show was actually really bad," and we everyone has their own opinion, but we can only say in comparison to what we've seen that this is much better than the stuff we've seen in the last couple of weeks. So, the last 2 months anyway, by far. So yeah, there we are. They've had a very bad SummerSlam hangover, and that's the best way to explain it. So we move on to our topic of the week, one that we just randomly came up with a conversation last week. We decided not to talk about them because we
save ourselves for it.
We're going to talk about it this week. I've done a lot of thought into this. I'd be interested to see what Matt has to think about this as well. And our topic for the week is, what if Dolph Ziggler could switch places with an emerging Shawn Michaels? So we're talking about Shawn Michaels on his rise. So not Shawn Michaels after he came back after his back surgery. Back in in the very heyday of Shawn Michaels in his early years, shall we say, as a singles competitor, not as a tag team, right? But how each man would fare, in their different surroundings, different timelines.
Okay, so we're also thinking like emerging Shawn Michaels in modern WWE.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So we're going to explain that and how each man fares. I think what people would be caught up in talking about this and talk about the looks of each guy, the movesets, and how it would get over with the fans of each generation. I don't think that's the real key to deciphering the answer to this question. I did a lot of think about this. I looked at it from all angles. I'd be interested to see your thoughts on it as well, Matt. Mm-hmm. I think it's their mindsets that are the real key to seeing what both these guys would do in different generations.
Can agree.
The reason I say that is that Dolph Ziggler now to an emerging Shawn Michaels, a rising star Shawn Michaels, have very different temperaments and personalities. Ziggler has, I would state, as much as I love Ziggler, and I really do, we've sung his praises so much on this show, I don't think he's cutthroat enough to make an impact in Shawn Michaels' era.
Yeah.
I don't think he's willing.
He would get lost.
I think that he wouldn't be willing to trample over someone to get their spot, which is a calling card of Shawn Michaels in his early career. He would trample over people and kick them into the dirt.
Jesus Christ, how many times? Like that was this almost one of the key things in the whole Shawn Michaels and Brett not getting on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just because I don't like the way he works. How do you mean? Because he would throw you in the dirt and give a notice.
Yeah, like Brett despised Shawn Michaels in for that exact thing, that he thought the guy was incredibly selfish. He thought that the guy was stuck up. He was in the industry for all the wrong reasons. So there was a big rivalry there. Do I think that Dolph Ziggler right now, especially as he's got very comfortable, I think is probably the best. A lot of people in this generation, not just Ziggler, we're not digging on Ziggler, but a lot of people in WWE are comfortable. Even some of their biggest stars are comfortable. John Cena is comfortable, unfortunately. That their spot is assured, that they will have a job, and that's where they're going for, and they don't have enough sort of cockiness in them that, well, you know what, if you don't understand how good I am, I'll go to WCW.
Yeah.
They don't have that now. It's like, oh, you don't know how good I am, I'll go to TNA and get paid pittance. Maybe not get paid at all, and not have job security. And wrestling in front of 200 people. There's a lot of downsides to that. Whereas, Shawn Michaels going up thought, well, if this company's going to screw me over, you know what? I'll say, fuck you. I'll go to WCW. I'll make a ton of cash. Turner can pay me all this money. I'll be their top star. And vice versa. If WCW have an issue, WWE will snap me up. It's same thing. That's why a lot of people had controls over the companies at that point, because they could jump ship if they wanted to. They
could piss and moan and get what they wanted, because if not, I'm fine.
Yeah, then I'll go.
I'll go elsewhere.
Yeah. And Shawn Michaels, you may be thinking, wait, Tony Mac, come on, guys. Shawn Michaels now, he's a lovely guy. Yeah, you're exactly right. He is a lovely guy. This Shawn Michaels is a lovely guy, not the Shawn Michaels of that era. That Shawn Michaels is famously a prick.
Yeah.
Famously a prick. A lot of people did not like him. He even fell out with Triple H at one point. You know, which you think, wow, those guys are best buds, and they are to this day, and they were back then as well. To get so many people back
to that sort of level, yeah.
Yeah. Shawn Michaels was willing. He thought he was the Mac Daddy. He thought he was a guy that deserved to be on the top of the company. And
if he thought otherwise, you know what? I don't give a shit.
Yeah, and he didn't care who was in his way. That was his spot. That was his, and he was going to take it from you. Right? I don't see Dolph Ziggler going back into that era, which you had to do that, by the way. And a lot of people give shit to Shawn Michaels, and rightly so, because the guy, as I said, famously was a prick. He'll be the first person to admit that. Part of the reason that he got to where he was is because he was a prick.
Yeah. Simply enough.
Yeah. I know it's like a double-edged sword. Yeah, you're not going to make any friends, but you will be the top dog.
Yeah.
Bret Hart, you know, to this day has got a little bit of prick in him because he thinks he was very good, and he is very good. Everyone knows here that I love Bret Hart. I think he's one of the best wrestlers ever to grace the earth. But he's got the arrogance as well. He's got the swagger. He's got confidence. Do you think?
I think you described Bret Hart once as he's forgotten more about wrestling than you could ever learn.
Yeah, yeah, and that's an age-old stating. But I mean, with Bret Hart, man, that guy knows that ring in and out and what to do inside of it. To this day, he just hasn't got the body for it anymore. You know.
Yeah.
Would Ziggler do the same thing? Do you think he's got the capacity to be that cutthroat, to be that much, as I've stated, a prick, to claw his way up the roster? Or would he sit there and be annoyed and just blame management, which a lot of them do nowadays? And, you know, to this day, because management does have all the power, I guess that, you know, it is quite frightening. And so many people have made their own pushes and get squashed by them. But back then, you could make your own push and it would actually work. You know, that people would get behind you. Like I said, if you made your own push and it didn't work, you could take that push over to WCW. They'll take you.
Yeah.
And WWE would know that. That's the reason why they'd be more inclined to work with what they had. Here's the other flip side of the coin. So I'm stating categorically, I believe that Dolph Ziggler will probably be in the same spot he was now, if not worse, if he went back 20 years. And that's not... I didn't think that. When we initially talked about this, I was saying, oh, imagine if Ziggler was back 20 years, he'd be one of their world champions. Thinking on it, I actually think otherwise. So,
Dolph Ziggler now, like, near the peak of Michaels, then yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're going on, like, when they first started out, no.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to stamp on anyone? No.
Yeah.
Do you really want to get anywhere? Yeah. But chuck them.
Yeah.
No.
Are you willing to put this, make this guy look subservient to you, willing to go out there and really play backroom politics to get yourself up the ladder? I don't think he is.
No.
Here's the flip coin to that. This is a question that a lot of people won't answer. How would Michaels do in today's era?
Struggle.
I think the guy would be fired.
Yeah.
It's quite...
Definitely. It's just like, man, fuck you. Just get...
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't want it. You're going to throw a tantrum. Get out.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think... I mean, only one person has managed to get away with being a prick nowadays. That's CM Punk. And he walked out of the company. Some people could say, well, because Punk was that good. And he was a good mic. He was good on the mic and everything like that. He had a lot of people gunning for it. A lot of people on his side during that point. Paul Heyman was one of his biggest advocates, in terms of keeping that guy in the company. There was a lot of times that he was going to be out of the company, CM Punk, they were just done with him, and Heyman hold on to that. I find Michaels is a guy that maybe wouldn't even have one person gunning for him the way he was back then. That Michaels, if he was an NXT as the guy he was, that he would think he's a big guy, he's in terms of class and personality, that he could get it done in the ring very, very well. He was a great wrestler, he's a great talker. But I think his lack of trying to work with the company and with other people would probably get him in more hot water, and WWE would be like, you're actually a little bit too much work. You know what? We don't want to work with you anymore.
Yeah. It's like, nah.
Yeah. Like WWE back then, when Michaels was on his rise, they wanted to work with these rising stars because they needed the next big hit to make sure that WCW wasn't going to kill them in the ratings. Now, that was a little bit before the Monday Night Wars, but still, it was roughly around that point. So they wanted Michaels to become a huge star because they needed huge stars. So they were willing to take these, these big egos and work with them. Vince McMahon made a living off of making these big egos clash against each other. The whole Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels thing, you could state that Vince McMahon had a lot to do with not fanning down the flames. He wanted those flames to erupt because he would rake in the ratings for it, right?
Oh, definitely.
That WWE now don't want things to work that way because they are the ipso facto authority. I know there's pun intended there, but they are the authority of professional wrestling. They don't want someone that could seemingly, if they don't get what they want, then they can imagine that era. Shawn Michaels having Twitter in his hands. Jesus Christ!
Wow.
Yeah.
That would just end. That could never end well.
Yeah. There's a few wrestlers back in that era you just wouldn't want them to have anywhere.
Just like social media.
Yeah.
No, get away from it.
These stories that could be told if social media was around 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, that is worth thinking about. So, yeah, it's quite of a sad story. That looking at it, I could see both guys.
That neither of them would succeed in anything.
Yeah. Very shocking. And a lot of people here maybe not know a lot of stuff about what Michaels was like back then. Maybe very shocked to see that he was a nasty guy back then. It was only after his injury and he found his wife and then became a born again Christian
sort of thing.
Yeah, he became a born again Christian, changed his life, and had came back from the surgery and then had a very lengthy continuation of his career. And he was known for being a very respectable guy that was willing to work with people. Completely different change, to the person that he was back then. He was a very self-destructive individual at that era of his time.
Yeah.
And self-destructive does not work well with what WWE want right now. In fact, that's the least that they want, especially after the whole, and I hate to bring it up, the whole Chris Benoit thing. They don't want another Chris Benoit tragedy on their hands. And it's not that WWE want people, it's not that they're trying to save lives. It's WWE don't want the bad press. They took a lot of bad press for the Chris Benoit stuff. So
definitely, yeah.
That's it.
And there's as much that could be avoided, then exactly that.
Yeah, exactly. So is there what other thoughts do you have of that? Do you because when I was shocked because when I was thinking about it, and like I said, I have thought about it a lot. When I first thought about it, I was like, definitely Ziggler. Are you kidding me? He'll be world champion in a couple of months. And then when I thought
and I was sort of just thinking the same. I was thinking the same thing as you, like when we actually came to talking about it. But now, sort of taking that step back and just considering, it's like he was a dick.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of it actually just goes with. You needed to be a dick.
Yeah. Come on, how many of the biggest stars back then were utter cocks? But because they were utter cocks, they ended up being the big thing. Triple H right now, he was an utter cock back in those days. Hulk Hogan, famously utter cock.
Dick. Yeah.
And he was the biggest name in professional wrestling. Stone Cold Steve Austin, to some of his degree, in that era, he was a bit of a dick because he would. Especially some parts where he would walk out on the company because he didn't want to work some matches and stuff like that towards the tail end of his career.
That's it. Fuck it and walk off.
Yeah. They were not willing to be second best, whereas now in WWE you have to be willing to be second best because no one's going to ever top John Cena. So
yeah, a
lot of people back then would not have been able to have dealt with that, back in those days. So interesting stuff. I'd love to hear what people think because it ultimately is a what if situation. There's no way that we can really know. Maybe we're looking into it too wrong. Maybe Michaels, as much of as a dick as he was back in those days, maybe he was more intelligent and we're giving him props for. He would see the landscape and he would conduct himself in a little bit of a different manner and he would rise through the ranks. Or maybe Ziggler does have that in him, he just doesn't have it available to him at the moment, and we're not able to see it, so maybe he would be a big star, maybe he would trample over people. It's just a what-if situation. So give us your, what our listeners, we love hearing what you think. What do you think? Do you think Ziggler will be a big star back in 20, I'm not saying 20 years, oh yeah, it would be about 20 years, Shawn Michaels emerging as a new star, or do you think Shawn Michaels would be the star he was if he was starting off now? It would be very interesting to talk about. So Do you have anything else to run through this week?
I've got nothing else to add this week, no.
I think we're wrapping up. I think this is another 2-hour episode, by the way. So
I think it's looking that way, yeah.
It's looking that way, yeah. So this is episode 47 of the podcast. That means we've got 2 more after this, and then you've got the big episode, the special episode, 50th episode. And then straight after that, you get 1 normal episode after that, and then you get another special episode because it's our year anniversary. So me and Matt will be having celebrations.
Yes.
I'm going to stay right now for our year-long celebration. I might be drunk. So, there we go.
This can only end well.
It can only end well. But for you guys joining us for this podcast, we hope that you guys did enjoy it. It wasn't a ranty episode, and we like the fact that we did that. Who knows what WWE can give to us next week, but we will be there to give all our details about it next week. If you've got any questions that you'd like to be featured on the fan feedback, then leave that low in the comments, or tweet at TalkWrestlePod. Give Matt some ammunition to fire at me, so I can answer stuff on the spot. And if you're new to the podcast and you did enjoy it, you know what? We do one every single week, so why not subscribe, and that way you won't miss it. That's the best way to do it. And then we'll break the 120 subscriber mark, and then the next big milestone is 150. I'm sure we'll get there in no time. You guys have been great supporting the podcast. And like I said, we've got 2 big specials coming up very soon, so we hope you guys do enjoy that coming up soon. But apart from that, we hope you guys did enjoy the episode, and we'll catch you all again next week.
We'll see you around.
Bye-bye.
Bye.